You're right. You're right.
But like most of the time for these lists, usually I have a hard time picking my specific number one, because like I'll have like a couple that I'm like, okay, it's like between like two or three of them for number one. Like I've got a couple options. This one is like, no,
Because
this is
we
number
usually
one.
talk about what we like most of the time.
Mm.
David's idea for this one was straight up what has disappointed us the most. So
What disappointed
that's kind of
me the
the
most?
reverse.
I could tell you the most disappointing. Okay, the top. I know two of them are Sonic games. Unfortunately, I know the top two
Wait,
are
so
Sonic games.
do you have at least five,
Yeah, I
right?
have at least five. Honorable mentions do not have, unfortunately.
Yeah, honorable. Well, I mean, if you can think of any, you can give them. Basically, we're gonna do top five, and then we'll just go through honorable mentions in whatever detail is felt to be necessary. And then if people roll in, I'll add them as we go along. In fact, I forgot to start the music. Hold on a second.
No.
There we go.
Oh.
Feel free to share the stream, whatever. I will. I'll be back. Give me a second.
Virtua Fighter is hard.
I feel like this discussion is going to be a more chill version of the over underrated, like the overrated list, where instead of people getting mad that people think games are overrated, it's just all of us going to be sad that games didn't turn out as good as we'd hoped.
Yeah, it's gonna be like that.
Well, yeah, because you're no longer actually attacking a game that a lot of people rate highly, which
You're
is the
attacking
reason
a game that is rated poorly.
Well, yes, you're attacking a game that most people are like, yeah, I don't really hear about that or care for it. So, yeah,
I know.
that's a bummer, man. Whereas when I say Final Fantasy XIV is overrated, and then 2 months later get into the game myself, things go astray.
Talk about freaking irony.
It's still overrated. It's pretty chill.
Such as acid nature. I'm going to double check my list for that to see if there was any overrated game that I look back on and be like, I really like this now.
Yeah, there are a couple games that I just wasn't gonna list because they're games that I still planned on like going back to and actually giving a full try. Like spoiler, like Sonic and the Black Knight.
Oh,
My
man.
initial impression of it was I didn't like it that much, but I didn't really play through that much of the game because it really just felt like secret rings, but you stop every 5 seconds to slash and stuff.
Man,
But
that's an understatement. Ah.
well, see, I have a homie that said the exact same thing. Like, bro, it gets so much fun once you level up, man. So I will give that game more of a thorough try. So that's why I didn't put that on my list because I don't consider it disappointing yet. Because
the reason why
I would think I need to give it a full try first.
Well, the reason why I say that is just like that's the game now. Sonic and the Black Knight for me, I like using swords. Swords are my favorite weapon. So when I saw Sonic with a sword,
cool.
and as a knight, and mind you, I was in. This was at the time where I was into samurai. So seeing a knight Sonic, I was like, that's my boy, that's my homie.
It's honestly cool.
Also, Crush 40. Can't Crush Mother 40, baby. Can't go wrong.
I personally really do like the Black Knight songs.
Alright. Time to start chilling now.
So what time is it? We will wait like another 5 minutes-ish. Unless there's anyone else that you guys know might be coming in, let me know. Otherwise, we can just...
Hmm.
Okay. Sorry. I also have some of my art out that I'm needing to get around
how you start drawing.
Realizing stuff that I didn't address.
Oh, congrats on getting top 8. Congrats on getting top 8. Man.
Thanks, I guess. I made some bad decisions.
My man.
And Marco actually adapted pretty well. I should have just been doing lightning. I shouldn't have kept trying to do counter over and over to his jump-ins because he started doing empty jumps. And then I just took one too many big old Darley swings.
Sorry.
It is what it is.
You did good. Can't wait to see you guys do it on. I can't see how well you guys do on Saturday. Hopefully my tournament does well tomorrow, but
See what happens. Saturday, might actually. Well, I'll talk about it some other time. But basically, after Saturday, I don't know how much more I'm gonna be competing.
Are you gonna at least be playing for fun?
Possibly. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. What song is this?
It's Mighty Switch Force.
Oh.
Oh, that's
Sick. Speaking of which, I had started Mighty Switch Force, but I forgot what level I left off on. I don't know if I was gonna stream the game either. Well, actually, I might stream when I get to the later Switch Force games. Because right now I'm on the first one, I'm kind of just getting used to playing the game. And I'll just play like on my downtime or whatever. It's pretty cool.
Had fun.
Way Forward is just mad good at making platformers.
You know their
Yeah.
stuff.
Shantae. I remember when I first saw Shantae, and I was like, she's about my. I'm like, she looks cute. No lie. I was like, no lie, she looks cute.
Shantae is cool. Actually, I forgot where I left off in there.
That
too.
was-
See,
that was-
Wednesdays are getting harder and harder to manage because I need to play Shantae. I'm supposed to keep playing Fire Emblem. I'm gonna be real with y'all. The Danganronpa playthrough is probably coming to an end.
Yay!
What's up?
There's just so much to manage.
I mean, shoot, at least you don't have to. At least you're not practicing Sam Show all the time, trying to get better at it, and you're like missing out all the games you should be playing. Like,
I mean, honestly, I should be spending every waking moment to get better at Sam Show, but but there's just so much stuff to do.
so much to do. So
Also,
little
I
time.
just realized we've been chilling for 8 minutes.
Is it time? Maybe not.
David, you're back, right?
Yeah,
David?
what's up? Yeah, sorry, I forgot to say I was back.
Howdy. Oh, no worries, just double checking. Howdy to whoever ends up watching. Tonight's probably a really chill one. Homie David had another idea for us tonight with ranking some games again. But today we'll be talking about some of the games we consider the most disappointing. Not necessarily that they're bad, quote unquote, but some games that maybe just didn't shatter all expectations or even meet expectations. I don't know. But it's gonna be a list of 5, but I think we have a good amount of honorable mentions that some of them we'll go over, and then if anyone else rolls through, I'll just pop them on this list as they come. So David, were there any honorable mentions that you wanted to bring up initially?
Yeah, the first honorable mention I'm actually going to bring up right now is let me grab my notes. So the first honorable mention, this would have been, if this was top 8, this would have made it to the list, but I'm still going to explain it, and that is going to be Fallout 4.
Okay.
So the only reason why it's not as severe as it could have been is because I did play both DLCs, and the DLC actually wasn't that bad. In Alphabet DLC was actually a really decent DLC, and that's actually the main reason, that particular DLC is the main reason why it's not higher on the list. But the reason why I was really hyped up for Fallout 4, I've already mentioned in your other streams that um, I'm a really big fan of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Both games are some of the best, in my opinion, some of the best single player games of one of the best single player games, or I should say two. Sorry for my math. Two of the best single player games of all time, and both of them have just had such great stories. They had it was great gameplay, great RPG elements. And I really was looking forward to Fallout 4, especially since I played Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Has anyone know? You know what I'm talking about, right? Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I thought after perhaps Bethesda would have gotten influence from Elder Scrolls Skyrim and added that into Fallout 4, and that's actually kind of what they did. But the reason why I was really disappointed in Fallout 4 was because the maps were very bland. The cities were really bland. There's not really as much creativity as there was in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And I still thought it was a decent game, but I thought that the gameplay was changed. They tried to make the gameplay a little bit more beginner friendly. And in all honesty, I think that hurt the game more than it benefited the game. And I also thought the side missions were very repetitive and very and to be honest, they got boring pretty fast if you did a lot of this, want to do all the side missions. And I mean, the main story itself was decent. The side missions, I play a lot of the side missions. They start off fun, but the creativity is nowhere near Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Even in Fallout 3, most of the side missions were very unique from each other. There was barely any. There wasn't really that much repetition. They all stood out from each other. But Fallout 4 was a different story, and the main plot, it still had a good plot twist, and they still had multiple endings that was still pretty good. But I would say that probably the most disappointing thing just was the fact that the cities and all the civilizations, they weren't just the designs, they were nowhere near as creative or as memorable. That's what the term I'm looking for, memorable, as Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And one of their DLC called A Nuclear World, which is basically think of it as a post-apocalyptic Disneyland. It's the best way to explain it to someone who knows nothing about Fallout.
Post-apocalyptic Disneyland.
Yeah, that's basically...
Theme park.
Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic theme park that kind of supposed to have a Disneyland vibe, and that DLC was very disappointing because the story was very bland. It was like as standard as it could be, and I think there were a lot of wasted potentials with features. Like I thought you might have been able to build maybe your own ride, like like in Planet Coaster. You know that game, right? I thought you could build a theme park ride. Have like different stories in each element of the park, but instead it was just kind of like basically a faction war and all that, and that in my opinion was very disappointing, especially and overall this is what I'd say. If someone played Fallout 4 without playing New Vegas or 3, they would be like, oh yeah, it's a really decent game. But as someone who has played 3 and New Vegas, I would say this honestly was a major down step. And I didn't explain the RPG elements in further detail, but it was almost like it felt more like a first-person shooter game, open-world first-person shooter, and that just felt very out of place. I expected to kind of be like a fusion of, you see, what made 3 and New Vegas really great was the fact that it was like a fusion of Elder Scrolls Skyrim and the Fallout gameplay. Whereas in Fallout 4, it felt a lot more like a standard first-person shooter, and in my opinion, that hurt the game.
Yeah, the most common complaint I hear of Fallout 4 is that they took a lot of the RPG elements and dialed that back in favor of more combat and first-person shooter stuff and like the base building stuff. Which, if you wanted a shooter with RPG elements, that's great. If you wanted an RPG with shooter elements, that sucked.
Okay, so it's comparatively, it didn't feel as...
You see, in Fallout New Vegas, they actually did that right. I like that they actually made it more first-person shooter friendly, but they were still able to make it feel more like an RPG.
New Vegas has a really good combination of the two. The gunplay is still solid enough that where shooting feels satisfying, but the RPG elements hard carry the game because that's first and foremost an RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's completely, it's like, that's the big complaints I heard about for Fallout 4. It's entirely that.
Yeah, and and that was just that was like the only thing that was not the only thing in my opinion that made disappointing. I already explained how the side missions were very bland and the maps were
Another
pretty
settlement
bland, too.
needs your help again for the 50th time from the
Yeah.
same enemy.
And one last thing I would like to mention, something that was disappointing, especially after Fallout 3 in New Vegas, was the fact that in almost every mission, I mean, there were a few missions where you could find another way besides combat to deal with something, but in a lot of missions, and many more missions, you ended up having to basically be like John Wick. You basically had to go guns blazing or stealth, whereas in Fallout New Vegas and 3, I remember we discussed this in another stream, what was so great about them was that there were many missions where you could actually find a way, maybe negotiate or find a way, or maybe manipulate someone, or use a computer terminal. There was a lockpick. There were so many possibilities of finding an alternative way besides going guns blazing or going stealth. And in Fallout 4, most of the missions you'd end up having to go guns blazing and stealth, and that, in my opinion, took some of the creativity away from the game, which hurt the game as well. And I still think and don't get me wrong, I still think Fallout 4 is a decent game. It's just not nowhere near as good as Fallout 3 in New Vegas, and definitely not one of the best games of all time, like the 3 in New Vegas. So any questions or comments? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just agreeing with your assessment. It's pretty valid. I will, however, laugh at the fact of, by the time Fallout 4 was rumored to exist, I had been long on the train of another Bethesda game. I really like Doom. And so for the longest time, in college, people were like, when's Bethesda gonna announce Fallout 4? And I was like, when are they gonna announce Doom 4? That's the game that matters. And now I laugh at being validated by time, because Fallout 4 came out, and it was rather mixed. But then Doom came out, and everyone loved it. And I was just like, haha, I was right.
Super happy
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah, I heard Doom 4 got really good reviews. I haven't I've played a little bit of the game and it's pretty good. And I can definitely see why a lot of people like the game. Not to get sidetracked too much, but I just say that it really is a good job at balancing out old school Doom with modern FPS games. They really did a good job
It
doing
did
that.
very well. Fallout 4 is
Yeah. Right. Any other questions or comments?
No?
Say what you need to say.
Yeah, what's your next honorable mention?
Okay, so the second honorable mention I am actually going to bring up is I am going to say Batman Arkham Knight.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why it's I'm only including this as an honorable mention is because a lot of the game itself was still really neat, and a lot of the side missions were actually still tackled very well. And in my opinion, it actually well, let me wait. Yeah. And I would say that this is kind of a minor spoiler of what I'm going to be saying in another list, but I think that the plot twist didn't hurt the game as much as another game I'm going to mention. And now, first, before I say anything else, is everyone okay with spoilers about Arkham Knight and all that?
Sure, go ahead.
If it's the spoilers that you've mentioned in the past, it probably would be fine. I think at this
Yeah,
point.
in case there's anybody new, I'm not actually at Twitch right now. Is there anybody new at Twitch maybe who's sensitive to spoilers?
If it's the
I'm
big
good.
spoiler, I
The
think it
game
is. It's the one that everyone guessed to the point where they said, no, it's totally not that, even though it was that.
Yeah, and
No one said anything in
exact-
Twitch chat
and-
yet, so you're fine.
Yeah, and one moment, please. Hey, is there? Okay. So after I explain this, I'm gonna have to go AFK just a little bit. But anyways, so the predictable plot twist didn't really hurt the game because a lot, as you say, a lot of people were kind of predicting that, and I was kind of hoping that the Arkham Knight would be an actual original character, but that plot twist didn't turn out to be that bad. And the Joker, I thought bringing back the Joker was pretty disappointing because it did kind of ruin ending scene of Arkham City where he died, and it just doesn't look the same anymore. It doesn't feel as powerful because you're like, oh, the Joker comes back, even though he's not in the actual Joker. He only comes back in hallucination. He's like still the main villain. But that being said, I still thought the Joker himself was, he had some good scenes, and he was still, it was still, if you're a fan of the Joker, was still not a disappointing performance. But the reason why I found it so disappointing was because Scarecrow and the Arkham Knight easily could have been one of the best, villains of all time in comic books and games, and the Joker, I think, got in the way, took away that potential. And another disappointing thing I thought was the fact that they brought Barbara back from the dead. Basically, it turned out her death was just a hallucination. I think she's a good character, but I think the fact that she got killed off in the game was, was a really powerful scene, and it really made Scarecrow look like a real, legitimate villain, and like a real threat instead of an ordinary Batman villain. And I was like, man, this guy's no joke. This guy's a real threat. We gotta put a stop to him. But then, when it turned out it was just a hallucination, they brought Barbara back. I thought that kind of took away, they took that away from Scarecrow. You're like, oh, Scarecrow is just like any other villain.
It's just
And
hallucination stuff like usual.
yeah, and it's basically just had basically a happily ever after ending, cliche ending and all that. And I think that if they actually killed off some of the good characters, if maybe Scarecrow even killed off Robin or Gordon or both, I think it would have been much better if Arkham Knight had a much darker ending, because they even said that Arkham Knight is going to be darker than ever before, and it seems that way when you're playing through it, but after you're done, you're like, this isn't really this isn't really that, it's basically just like any other Batman story. So I think the fact that it lost that potential really was bad. Now there's and also some of the boss fights, potential boss fights, like a boss fight with the Arkham Knight himself was really disappointing. The fact that he didn't have an actual hand-to-hand fight like he did in Arkham City with some of the characters. I think there was potential wasted there, and the main reason why I'm not putting this in the list and just having it as an honorable mention, well, there's some games that do surpass that disappointment. But the reason why I'm keeping this an honorable mention is mainly because I already said that the Arkham Knight wasn't, his identity wasn't as disappointing as, some people were expecting, because a lot of people were predicting his real identity. I was like, oh, I saw this coming down, like, oh, I'm surprised. And some of the side missions were actually still really decent. Sure, there were some draggy side missions, but a lot of the side missions were actually very unique. And in all honesty, a lot of people hated the Batmobile gameplay. I think it kind of added a unique twist to it. So I thought all the Batmobile fights, most of them were actually pretty good. Because I like how it added a unique twist to it, and then you go back to traditional Arkham gameplay, and then you kind of go back and forth. So I thought that was nice. I thought that was good creativity, and and I also liked how there were factions you had to take out. How you basically had to take out some of the militia and all that to basically get the city back, and that was pretty cool. So there were still a lot of things good about the game that kept it from moving too far up the list. So, any questions or comments? Sorry if I dragged on a little bit. I got carried away.
It's fine. Those are the games that I still never really got the chance to play at all. I kind of just watched people play them, and I just heard people's thoughts, without actually having tried them for myself. So I kind of just have to take your word for it, really.
Yeah, I would say if you missed it, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, because it's one of those games where you're like, oh, I'll give it a shot, maybe play through it once just to see how it is, but it's definitely not something you'll probably remember that well.
Oh, is there any possibility of another one, or do they kind of
I think they're leaving it at the trilogy it is.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, you mean a new one? What I was actually thinking of, hoping would happen, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, or at least not anytime soon, would be, who remembers Azrael from Arkham Knight? Does anyone remember?
Yeah.
I think it would have been good to basically create a spin-off with Azrael, because they really implied that there was going to be a spin-off, you know, actual spin-off game with him. And I really think that it would be kind of interesting to add in a you know, an original plot with him, with original characters, and then add in Batman, you know, villains who survived through Arkham Knight to kind of, you know, make it feel like a little bit like Batman, but a little bit like an original story. And I think the fact that that didn't come out, it was kind of a little disappointing, because they did imply that was going to happen. But right now, it looks like Rocksteady has other priorities right now. Suicide Squad. Yeah. Any questions or comments before I move on to my third honorable mention?
For me.
All right. Now my third and final honorable mention is going to be Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain. Now the main reason why this actually easily could have been number one in disappointment, but I'm actually cutting this one a little slack, because the main reason why I'm only keeping it, you know, as an honorable mention or low in the top list is because, in fact, if this would have been top 8, this would have been number 8. Is because it's not really the game's fault that the game ended up so disappointing. The reason why the game ended up disappointing was because of that whole beef between Hideo Kojima and Konami, and how Kojima basically got kicked out of Konami. And just 1 second, I'm sorry, I'll be back in like 1 minute, okay? I'm sorry, I gotta be AFK, just 1 minute, start counting.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, he's totally right though. Like, Phantom Pain basically doesn't have an ending. It kind of like just blows through some stuff, like some plot points, without any attention to the setup or build up. And it's like, what now? What? Oh, okay. And you can tell it's because they kicked out the guy in charge of it. So yeah, Tim is absolutely right regarding that. I'll add to that. The game was basically just, I would venture to say probably only 30% complete. Yeah.
The gameplay itself was actually still really great, but most of the missions were basically repetitive missions that almost seemed like they were side missions, that they were irrelevant to the story. And they had very few missions with legitimate cutscenes and all that. I mean, you could easily tell you were playing an incomplete game. It was very easy to tell that. And you could tell that they cut out a lot of stuff, especially from the trailer. And what I think, this game had true potential. It had a potential to be considered literally one of the best video games of all time. And you could tell, if you look at the gameplay, you're like, man, this really had potential. And the gameplay, even to this day, is still very fun to play. But because of the fact that it's basically an incomplete game, and it's amazing how it still won some Game of the Year awards, but I remember if you looked at one of the shows, I remember Konami would not let Kojima. Remember they wouldn't let him take up the award. Remember you saw that video? It's I think you can still find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how bad their conflict. That's how bad their conflict got. So I remember Silent Hills, how that basically got canceled.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what was really disappointing is that there were even rumors that it was actually going to go all the way from like the Metal Gear Solid 3 era. It was basically going to go all the way up to even Metal Gear Solid 1. There were even rumors that you were actually going to be able to play through some of Metal Gear Solid 1 with the Metal Gear Solid 5 gameplay. And the fact that we basically got an incomplete story with basically, instead of an actual transition to the Metal Gear Solid 1 timeline, it's basically just an incomplete game with few side missions and basically a cliffhanger ending. It was like they were trying to squeeze a cliffhanger ending into connecting with a Metal Gear Solid 1 Solid Snake timeline, and that did not really work. So overall, the game was just a massive disappointment. And the reason why I'm cutting this game slack is just because of the fact that it's not really the game's fault. You know what I mean? It's not the game's fault that the game ended that way. It was because of the beef between Hideo Kojima and Konami, and how Kojima nearly got kicked out. I remember that they just as soon as Hideo Kojima got kicked out, they suddenly announced the release of the game. That was the case, right? Coincidence?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So yeah. Any questions or comments about that?
Game's mad good. MGS5 is a very fun game. Like, gameplay loop is very satisfying. But, man, its story has been butchered because of all that.
Yeah. And
I think it being an honorable mention is a fair spot because of that. Because the game is disappointing on a story front. On a gameplay front, it's pretty dang good.
I do agree that the gameplay was good. I think they were going to add in some other elements to the gameplay, but the gameplay, as it was, I agree, was still really good. But gameplay itself, by the end of the day, without a good story, really only gets a game so far. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, and you said those are your 3, right?
Those are the 3, and the 5 will be on my list.
All right.
Was it a quiet love story? That's another game that I never got to even play for myself. I kind of just absorbed the memes and like watched a little bit of gameplay here and there.
I had a friend pick it up on a Steam sale for like $5, and he put like 80 something hours into it. And he was like, "This is the best $5 I've ever spent."
Dang. Maybe I could get around and try it. Tim, what are your honorable mentions?
I have a few. The first honorable mention I'm going to put is a little game called Indivisible.
Oh. Well, frig. Because I still have my physical copy wrapped up because I haven't got around to playing it yet.
I'm so sorry.
Well, this is awkward. Alright, lay it on me.
So, Indivisible had a lot going for it. Normally, I've learned my lesson on Kickstarter hype. I watched and laughed as Mighty Number 9 burst into flames. So I usually don't fall for Kickstarter hype. I, as a matter of fact, did not buy Indivisible or donate to the Kickstarter, 1, from a lack of money, 2, because I was wary. But
I was just lazy.
the demo it had was very good, and the story looked like it was going to go an interesting direction, and the gameplay looked kind of cool, so I was like, oh, cool, and it's by the Skullgirls team, and I love Skullgirls, so maybe it'll be good. The game comes out, and it tries to be 3 other games and fails to be any of them.
Yikes.
The combat system is interesting, but very quickly redundant. You will find your best strat with every character and then just do it over and over. So it's not nearly as deep as it was advertised. The Metroidvania platforming is very obnoxious. The map is way too big, and your movement speed is way too slow, and your tools for moving are way too scattered. So just running from place to place all the time gets annoying. And then worst of all, like, Skullgirls has very appealing characters. Character designs in this game are great. The characters themselves in Indivisible are really bland. And Hajna is not a likable main character. And I'm very sad. Basically, like, I see a bunch of places where this game goes, huh, if this was designed by people who knew how to make this kind of game, it would be great. But it's not. So it's really aggressively mediocre.
Dang.
And it makes me sad.
Well,
And that's why I haven't bought it. I was gonna buy it, but then I played a bit of a friend's copy and watched a full playthrough and was like, oh no.
gotcha. Yeah, my main hype from it, obviously, aside from like liking Skullgirls and Lab Zero was as they were at the time, I had been always going to the Lab Zero panels at Anime Expo, so like seeing Indivisible in its development was always really cool.
It was.
And
It looked really cool.
to be honest, I guess part of why I like the concept of Indivisible because it was honestly kind of similar to a project idea that I had in my last year of college of combining the aspects of fighting games with something RPG-esque.
Yeah.
I literally proposed an idea for something like that in college.
Well, if
So
you play
Indivisible-
Indivisible, you'll know what not to do.
Yeah, like it just seemed conceptually really cool to me.
It is a cool concept. There are some games that have done it.
So it just sounds like they themselves just don't execute it as well as
Yeah.
hoped.
Indivisible is just a poorly executed concept.
Gotcha. Well, I guess we'll see how I feel about it when I play it. I mean, I wasn't exaggerating. Like, I got it, and I was glad to finally get a physical copy, because, like I said, I had seen all the Lab Zero panels, but I was extremely late to the, like, Kickstarter hype, so I just figured I would just wait till it comes out anyway. So yeah, guess I'll get around to it eventually, and I'll see if
Yep.
I'm as disappointed. What's your next one?
My next honorable mention is Deadly Premonition 2, A Blessing in Disguise.
Wait, Deadly Premonition 2?
Yes! I've talked about 1 at length in some of these streams. I enjoy it heavily. It's a game that holds a special place in my heart. So imagine my surprise when they announce out of nowhere, hey, it's getting a sequel. Exclusive to Switch for some reason.
Don't you love when that happens?
And I was like, oh cool, I own the Switch. Oh, that's a very good first people also ask. Followed with the follow-up question as well. That's very good. So, Deadly Premonition 1 is bad in some places, but is a good game overall. It has some weird game design choices, but it's not a bad game. And then it has some ports that suck, but the game itself runs well. Like, people are like, oh, it crashes all the time. It crashed on me like once. It plays very well if you don't play a bad port. Deadly Premonition 2 only has bad ports. The game runs at an awful frame rate when you're moving. It does crash and glitch often, and just like, oh, cool, nice. But hey, maybe even if it plays rough, maybe the story and the characters can save it like the first one did. I've yet to finish 2, because it hasn't gripped me like 1 has. The dialogue isn't as charming in places, the characters aren't as charming, the art style isn't as appealing. It's missing a lot of the charm that the first game had.
Dang.
I went into this game really hoping we would just get more of the first game because it was perfect and fun in its own special way. And instead I got less charm and more rough around the edges. And I'm like, well, now what? This would be acceptable if it was a rushed sequel immediately after the first one on a bad port. This is a sequel 10 plus years after with all the time to put it on better consoles. And it runs worse.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I'm a little sad. I'll probably get around to finishing it at some point still, just out of like principle, but I don't really want to.
Gotcha.
My next honorable mention is Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on the Wii U.
Oh wow. Is it because it runs badly?
So here's the thing. I've heard nothing but praise for Monster Hunter for the longest time. And it's a
Right,
series that
yeah.
people I know really like it. And they're like, it's really good. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right,
And
I get
3
that.
Ultimate on the Wii U was like a launch title and looked cool. And I was like, okay, let's give this a
Yeah.
shot.
I got you.
I don't know if I just didn't play for long enough, but the
But that came
gameplay
out-
loop is so empty.
Okay, yeah, I kind of get it. See, I came into Monster Hunter late. I came in when 4 came out, and I didn't last long to play it. But I know that feeling where it's just like, where you just have a game where it's like, hear people praise this game, and you find it disappointing. Just
Like, I see the appeal in newer Monster Hunters, because everything I see for them, there's really cool stuff you could do in combat. The gear does get, like, has major differences and has cool changes, and it's worth... And the gameplay loop is satisfying, I get it. Of, oh yeah, go out, kill thing, use the things you got from it to make upgraded parts, repeat, forever, fight cooler, bigger monsters. It's a satisfying gameplay loop.
Right.
But, for me, like, I don't know if I just didn't play it long enough or something, but I couldn't do enough moves. Like, every weapon I tried, I only had a handful of moves I could do, and I was like, is this it? And then even some of the cooler monsters I could fight, I was like, I just kind of do the same combo. I feel like I don't have enough attacks. I feel like I'm not doing anything. I feel like I'm grinding in a 2007 MMO. So I assume I'm just playing poorly, or like something's wrong. But I look it up and I'm like, no, I'm not seeing things about this. Now I won't say Monster Hunter as a series is bad. Like the newer games fix the issues I have with 3 Ultimate heavily. There's a lot of things you can do. There are a ton of moves and combat stuff. There's crazy things you can do now. But I'm really soured on Monster Hunter because my first experience was all of the grind and none of the fun. And I was just like, well, okay, now what?
I think you probably didn't get far enough because the challenge with the earlier games really was just dodging boss attacks and then waiting for your opening and finding the openings.
Sounds like Dark Souls.
So if you didn't get to
here's
a boss,
the thing, I don't like Dark Souls.
so if you didn't get to a boss that challenged you to like actively watch out for attacks, then probably it got boring.
So yeah, I was just very bored with it and was like, okay, this is Monster Hunter, huh? But newer games look a lot better. I probably will play one eventually in years and be like, oh, this is better, but I'm not too interested.
Play Rise and you can Spider-Man around.
I was gonna say, I thought Rise is the one that everyone is playing now.
Yeah, Rise is the one we're playing right now.
You can play World if you want, but
World
play
is
Rise.
cool.
Yeah,
World
the
is
newer
really
ones
good.
look way cool.
Or Generations Ultimate, that one's also
Plus
good
we're
if
getting
you
the
want
newer like spin-off one in like a month too, right? Like Stories 2 is coming
Stories
out.
2? Yeah.
Yeah, if you want one to play, like TLDR is just play Rise, and if you don't have access to Rise, play World, and if you get done with Rise and want more, play World, and if you want to play anything classic style Monster Hunter from before World, just play Generations
Or
Ultimate.
would do. Or will definitely do if you want to play classic Monster Hunter because it's old school Monster Hunter to me.
Well, Generations Ultimate has like the fucking styles and stuff. So if you're like talking about you can't find a gameplay style that fits you, trust me.
No,
If you
I
play
feel like
Generations
that's it.
Ultimate,
Is like
you'll
I'm
find
hearing all
something.
this and it's like sweet. So there's actual like crazy things you can do with the weapons and there's major differences.
With Generations Ultimates, there's like fucking. It's like
And
the
that
multi-blood
sounds like
effect
it's way
where
more
you-
interesting. That sounds like
It's like the
combat is way
multi-blood.
more interesting.
It's like the multi-blood effect of like you have all the weapons, and then there's 6 variants of every weapon depending on which style you choose.
Yeah, 3 Ultimate doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And I got bored.
Generations Ultimate if you want the old one. Generations Ultimate is a little bit like still heavy and stuff. It still feels like the other one, old ones, where it's still a little bit heavy, but there's definitely combat variety. So
Yeah.
the Rise is the one that's probably best.
Tim, did you have more honorable mentions?
I have one last honorable mention, and it's a kind of cop-out honorable mention, because
Okay.
it would be too long and arduous to list a lot of them. But,
What is it?
most Warhammer 40k games.
Warhammer.
Because Warhammer 40k is a franchise I hold near and dear to my nerdy heart. I've been into it since I was a teenager. I have 2 armies fully built for tabletop games, and most of the video games for it suck. Like holy crap, a lot of them suck. Most of the video games for 40k are awful. And it's a darn shame because there's a couple specific really good ones. Dawn of War is a fantastic RTS. Space Marine was a pretty solid third-person shooter. But for them, you also have Dawn of War 2, which was bad, and Dawn of War 3, that was terrible, and Space Hulk, which was awful, and, like, basically, if you have 20 Warhammer 40k games, you have 3 that are worth playing. And it makes me very sad, because there are 20 Warhammer 40k games, and all of them should be pretty interesting, but none of them are. A very small handful of them are, and it makes me very sad as a fan of this franchise.
Oh, frick.
So, the new Necromunda looks like it could be kind of fun, but I hear even that is a little disappointing. So I'm like, well, now what? It seemed, as much as I hope and prayed that they would get better with time, it appears they are not, and I will continue to suffer.
I mean, you can keep hoping, I suppose.
I will sit here and wait for another good 40k game. And by that I mean I'll just play Dawn of War again for the 30th time.
That's one
But
way.
that is my last honorable mention.
Okie dokes. MCM, did you have? Oh wait, no.
Yeah, I do. I do
Oh,
have
you have
honorable
mentions?
mentions.
Okay, cool.
I do have honorable mentions. I'm gonna keep it simple. Keep it with 3. Okay, I don't think you guys know Spectros or what it is.
I know
But-
Spectrum.
Spectro.
Hey.
Hey!
Alright,
Let's go Spectropes!
Spectros. Okay, I'm gonna be
Wait,
real with y'all.
Spectro?
Spectros 2 Beyond the Portals was
Yeah,
that was disappointing. Okay,
it
so
was not as good as the
first one and
it was not a good
Origins.
next one.
Spectro's
I'll tell
Beyond
you
the
why.
Portals?
Yes, Beyond the Portals. And I'll tell you why, and it's because of the gameplay style that changed, and also the music. Let's just say it like this. I love Spectros. So you know like the Prismod like menu and all that stuff?
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite songs. I literally have that on my phone. When I go outside and walk sometimes, I will listen to that. It
It's
has
mad
a-
good.
It is mad good. I'm like, oh, this got a beat to it. I'm like, I love this one. And then after it changed, I was like, this is Spectro. This is not the same Spectros I remember. And it's like all the characters as well. It's like I feel like the character development for all the characters is not the same as it was in like the original and 3. Like Rollins' character development in 3 was one of my favorites. Was one of my favorites. Honestly, he didn't need it, but it was one of my favorite. It was one of my favorite, quote unquote, developments to see, and just the gameplay was just. It didn't feel like Spectros. Like you didn't go in and actually fight the crawl with your Spectros along with you. So it was like 2 Spectros that went at it, and the combat felt, while less slippery, it was limited in my opinion. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. So, let's see. Number 2, I just had it in my head. Oh, so everybody is a fan of Ninja Gaiden. So,
Yeah.
well, most people are. Some people are. I will not say everybody is. This also came from the Wii U, but it was Razor's Edge. It just, from playing all 3 Ninja Gaidens, I haven't beaten them all, like on the NES, and then playing a Ninja Gaiden that was supposed to be on the PlayStation or in the newer gens. It just felt, it didn't feel like Ninja Gaiden to me. Like the characters, like it was like in an alternate dimension. So I think it was like it was an alternate universe or something. Like the newer Ninja Gaiden series.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm back. Did you say Ninja Gaiden's your next one?
Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. I think the gameplay is just, it didn't feel like Ninja Gaiden, in my opinion. But then again, I'm pretty old school Ninja Gaiden player, so.
You know a game's gonna be good when it's first released on Wii U and then ported to PS3 and 360.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean,
So you know a
Ninja Gaiden-
game's good when it gets ported to the generation before it.
I just want to add that I can see what you're saying. I remember back when Ninja Gaiden 3 was first launched, the reviews were saying that the gameplay was very, very repetitive, and there's basically not real Ninja Gaiden, just mainly button mashing. So I can kind of see what you're saying.
It was just, it felt like a beat 'em up rather than like. Now I only played like Razor's Edge, so that's all I played. But in compared to like the older Ninja Gaiden to this one, I was like, this is not a fun game, and it's like the story was also kind of like, meh. Is that it? Nothing else? I mean, it didn't feel. I mean, I can't say it didn't feel Ninja Gaiden because that's kind of a broad. That's kind of like something. It's Ninja Gaiden, but it's just like it wasn't to me. So I think what's the most disappointing one? Honestly, this one's a toss in the head. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't hate any Zelda game, and I've loved every Zelda game, but I think this one, and it's kind of not like, it's not one I would put in top 5 or top 10, but just It was Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass.
Yep.
And I think it's coming from like the sequel to Wind Waker.
That's the
You would think, like,
handheld Toon Link one, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
the handheld
It was
Toon
the
Link
first handheld one. It was on the DS.
I've never played a
Honestly-
tiny bit of that. A very
Honestly,
tiny bit.
I like Spirit Tracks a lot better than Phantom Hourglass.
Spirit Tracks is enjoyable. I liked Spirit Tracks.
I'm a game as well, so you can imagine me. That's
Frick,
true.
man.
And then
That's
you
what
got
happens.
Fire.
And Ghost Zelda follows you around for the game. She's like your Navi.
That
and
sounds
even better.
depressing.
No, that's not even depressing.
That it becomes
That's-
hype. You use her to take over phantoms, and that's the whole thing of Zelda controlling phantoms.
Like
It's
she
because in that
possesses
game,
people?
yeah, she possesses
Yeah.
the statue guys,
Holy frick!
and so you can have Zelda in giant buff ghost armor killing things, and it's mad hype.
That's metal. I always consider that's metal.
This game sounds wild.
Spirit Tracks is mad good. Phantom Hourglass is not so much.
It's not so much, and it's not because of the story, because like I kind of like the story, but it just didn't have that Wind Waker feel to it. And I like Linebeck too. Linebeck's a hero.
Yeah,
like,
Lineback's cool. He's a cool character.
He's the hero. Like once you get to the end of it, he's like, oh, that's the boy. That's the whole.
Phantom Hourglass has kind of that Skyward Sword effect of it was hurt by the console it was on. If your
Honestly-
DS had problems with, like, if you were missing your stylus or like your mic was messed up, some of the items or dungeons would be really hard and weird and inconsistent,
Now,
and it hurt the game.
now that didn't hurt me as much because like I was that guy who like I would adapt to it. So I was like, okay, I'll just figure it out. And Skyward Sword, I guess, yeah, it would affect you depending on how you affect the controls. To me, Skyward Sword, I was actually swinging Link's sword, the Master Sword. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
go.
if your Wiimote wasn't buggy, it played great. Skyward Sword felt great.
It felt great. I was like, I'm one, and I had the collector's edition with the actual, like the golden Wiimote.
Yeah,
and I was
and
like,
it's like 1-to-1,
yeah,
and you're like, yo, this
yeah.
is the greatest video game.
I'm
I
like,
get to swing the Master Sword. This is the
I was like,
best.
I am Link, and I'm using my left hand instead of my right hand. I'm like, I am Link, the hero of time. Bring it,
Dang, gee.
bring it.
It was super good if it worked.
It worked.
If it-
But honestly, Phantom Hourglass just disappointed me in that it just didn't have that Wind Waker kind of freedom to it, if you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Because like everything else, it played well. It was fun, but then it's like I didn't get to see the pirate, like Tetris, like the Tetris crew. I'm like, that's the homies right there, and like yeah, like all the characters were cool, but it's just it didn't have that. It didn't have that Wind Waker feel to it, and that's what I loved about Wind Waker. It was imagine Link on a ship. Yeah, but that's one of my honorable mentions. I think I have one more. I have to look. Which one is disappointing from my game, my younger days? Sonic. Honestly, Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood.
Now hold on there, Buckaroo.
That
Actually, I have a
is-
feeling why this is on your list, but I want to hear what you say.
Sonic Chronicles, cool game. I like some of its music, at least one of the boss music. I can't find it, but it's
Not
really
gonna
cool.
lie. In fact, what a coincidence you bring up music because I mean everyone knows the Sonic Symphony happened, and I'm pretty sure the entire world was in tears of joy. Sonic
That's-
Chronicles is literally the only game where I can say a Sonic game soundtrack doesn't hit because I literally can't remember a single song from this game.
I can remember a few, and I
Big
think it's
wow.
more so because Sonic Chronicles ending and just the way the characters
There
were
it
portrayed.
is.
The way the characters were portrayed, it just felt. It felt like I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's like eating food.
Our phones.
It's like eating food, and instead of eating like something like goldfish, you have like foam fish. You know,
What?
foam fish.
I think I
You
get
know,
what you
like-
mean. That's just a funny example.
It's like
Hmm.
it tasted like foam. That's how bad it. That's how disappointed I was with the game. And
So you felt it was
the
lacking.
ending, it was lacking that smack that smiles back.
I mean, because in fact, this is another game I need to replay again, but for me personally, part of what I liked was the characterization, because not only did you get to see more interaction
That's
between
cool.
the characters than you would normally see in some of
Yeah.
the games, but it actually it was like, it felt like an actual RPG. It attributed to like their skills and what they do, and like the partner combo attacks that you have and stuff.
Right.
But I 1000% knew you were gonna mention the freaking ending.
The ending was just that felt like you have like a fruit in your hand, and it was like a mirage, and then you eat air.
You just
Or
took a
sand.
bite and
I
nothing
take
was
a bite
there.
of.
That's
and
what the
nothing was
ending
there.
feels like.
I was like, what? That's it? Is there gonna be a Sonic Chronicles 2?
Yeah, for those who don't know, in
Okay.
fact, I probably mentioned it before, and I guess I would ask if anyone cares about spoilers, but I'm gonna be real with you. It probably doesn't matter at this point, because I highly
You
doubt
don't-
we're getting a second game. The ending of this game is the most cliffhangery, blue ballsy ending I've ever experienced in my entire life. No
Hey.
exaggeration.
You are not lying.
They literally... Okay, so to tell you, I'll just tell you guys. Basically, they briefly go to their dimension, they come back, and Eggman has actually taken over the world. And they're so cheeky about the ending. Sonic and them are actually saying, like, yo, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna deal with this? I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to find out in the sequel. And it even goes into, like, the
Even
credits.
The sequel. It's not even a sequel. No, there's credits. It's just Omega right saying the credits, and I'm like,
Like, they're so cheeky about the ending of this game, and then it just hurts even worse when there isn't a sequel.
it felt like an incomplete game, and like literally, even I remember I was on DeviantArt way back when in high school, and I remember there was like a sequel story to it, but there was no Big, and I was like, Big is in the game. I'm like, Big is just not there anymore. I'm like, what the frick is this? I don't know. I was just done with it. I felt at least the character ending, at least like the DeviantArt sequel for it was better than. I'd rather watch that than go ahead and play Chronicles again. I was just disappointed.
Really? Well, this is why I couldn't put on my list, because as depressing as of a cliffhanger this game has, personally I wouldn't consider the game disappointing for me, because I still really enjoyed this game. And I think this is because I was like a not as big of an RPG guy. This was like a perfect, like, baby's first basic RPG to play for me.
The RPG didn't bother me. I was a big fan of RPGs, so I was just like, eh. The story was just like, you had us, and then you were like, oh, Eggman reformed. Oh, he's now taking over the world. I'm like, yeah. You got me on the first half. Now where's the
Yeah,
second
me on the
game?
first half, not gonna lie.
Yeah, literally. I'm just like, okay, you know what? This isn't fun anymore. Okay. Unfortunate, Chief, but this is where my spiral to Sonic, liking Sonic, started going down.
That's fair.
So
Oh, jeez.
next one is going. I'm going to give you guys a hint. I'm still going to be on the DS games for Sonic. So
Wait,
those are going
for
to be
as in another honorable mention, or are you talking about your actual list?
my actual list. It's going to have
Okay.
DS Sonic games. So we're gonna.
I hope
Yeah,
it's
it's gonna
not
probably be
one that I think you're
controversial.
gonna mention. But
I'm going to mention.
oh wait,
Hello.
No.
what a quinky
Oh,
yeah,
hello
I was
there.
gonna say, John is here.
My phone's gonna die.
Like,
Nick, charge your phone. Wait, are you still
Do I
driving?
do on my list? No,
Well, if you're at home, plug up your phone.
I'm not at home. I'm at Dan's.
Oh gosh, dang it! I'm guessing you don't have a charger.
I'm at 1%. You want my list?
Give me. Well, put your list in the Discord just in case.
It's gonna die wrong. There's no just.
Oh, you gotta put it in
phone's
text.
gonna die.
Can you type it faster than? Can you say it faster than you can type it?
Probably.
Oh
All
my
right,
God.
go ahead.
Give me your list.
I'll type.
Number 5 is Need for Speed Payback.
Need for
Speed Payback.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was like the second to last game they made, and
Right.
he ate it up with fucking not even pay to win microtransactions. It's just like
I
they
think you mentioned this
locked
before.
everything behind like a loot box system.
Get
like,
it?
you get loot
Payback?
boxes.
Because you need to pay the game.
They didn't. Okay, this is a weird stage of EA where they were like, "All right, we're not going to have microtransactions in the game," but they structured their progression in the game like it was meant to have microtransactions.
That
To
probably
the point
means
where
they
it's just like,
were planning
well,
for it and they
shit.
like decided
Yes,
now never
that's
mind.
exactly what
They're
happened.
like, people hated
And so it's like-
microtransactions, so we took it out. Did we change the game to work better? No, we just took out the thing you complained about.
We just took out the option to buy. It's still just as grindy and just as bullshit to try to get the shit you need. Yeah, the game was awful
Well, that's
in
unfortunate.
comparison. But yeah, and then Gran Turismo Sport, I felt disappointing compared to the other Gran Turismo games. Luckily, Gran Turismo 7 is coming, and Gran Turismo Sport is not Gran Turismo 7, like it felt like it was supposed to be at the time, so Gran Turismo Sport is a spin-off. But yeah, it does feel disappointing in comparison to how the other games in the series are, because the other ones have like a career mode, whereas Sport is like almost focused entirely on just like competitive online racing, and there's just no campaign.
Guess it should have been called Gran Turismo eSport.
Pretty much. That's pretty much literally what Gran Turismo Sport was.
Dang, for
And
real.
then number 3, Little Big Planet 3, and notably the PS3 version. And more notably the fact that they had the PS3 and the PS4 versions without crossplay, and it ruined the community, and the game was buggy, and it launched incomplete. Yeah, it was disappointing as fuck, and it killed off the community that I loved as a kid. So,
That's
yeah,
depressing.
disappointing. Yes. And number 2, Little Big Planet Karting.
Wait, Little Big Planet.
What happens? Little Big Planet Karting. You know what's supposed to happen when it's supposed to be a spin-off, and this is before Little Planet 3, spin-off of my favorite game at the time, Little Planet 2, made by the developers of probably still one of my favorite racing games of all time, Mod Nation Racers, which still hasn't gotten a proper sequel ever, and it's another franchise that Sony refuses to revive, and I'm mad at Sony about. But yeah, made by those developers. Like, oh cool, it's like two of my favorite PS3 games combined. And it comes out, and it's that great. It doesn't perform well. It's laggy. It's had server issues at launch. It
Sound like they could have used a beta.
They could have used a beta. They could have used a few more betas and delays. And then my number 1 most disappointing game, and yes, I played it, Sonic Free Riders.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
ooh, man.
Because
Yes,
I
yeah.
had zero
I don't
intention of
think-
trying it, but I heard it was okay. But
It
really
was.
disappointing.
You can hear somebody say it's okay all you want, but Ronald, you can't give it any credit until you're the 12-year-old sitting in the living room trying to jump around like, what's going on? What isn't it doing anything? And you're
Hello,
just like
hello.
trying to convince the Connect
So it
to
just wasn't working.
understand you, and you're like, just please, I just want to play as like Riders. I love this game. Why are you holding me at gunpoint?
I was gonna say,
Why
wasn't
am
Sonic
I
Free Riders one of the
falling-
first Connect games?
Yes. Why am I falling on the floor in my living room just trying to play a Sonic Riders game that has bland track design and reality because they couldn't make the tracks interesting? Because if they had made them interesting, you literally wouldn't have been able to
It
steer
would
through
be
them.
impossible.
You literally had to make bland tracks with a very gradual turns and many straightaways. that were very hard to fuck up, and the game still wasn't fun. There was no challenge, and it was still the challenge wasn't the track. The challenge was just going through a basic ass boring track. Just getting through the track was a challenge because of how you controlled the game.
So janky controlling.
The game was awesome.
And this is why the
Please.
first game is probably still the best one.
Zero Gravity is actually
Zero
alright.
Gravity's pretty good.
Zero Gravity is even better if you get the Tournament Edition mod.
Yeah, Zero
Didn't
Gravity
the
is
Discord for that
another.
implode because of blackmailing?
Did it?
What?
Did it?
I
Is
don't
that a
know.
thing?
But
There was like a
Wait,
Discord server for some mod of some game that I remember hearing a friend talk about that then like one of the head mods was like blackmailing another mod and they shut down the whole thing.
Jeez.
I don't know what I don't know what the communities or anything, but I know the mods for Sonic Riders and Sonic Riders Zero Gravity.
Zero
on
Gravity
Dolphin
is
are
like
pretty
Black
good.
Knight, where my first impression of it is rather negative, but I'm willing to give it a more thorough try.
But I don't know how my
Three.
phone survived on 1% so long, but yes, yeah.
Well,
It's
thanks
not
for your
as-
list.
Yep, I
Show up, be silent for most of stream, drop a list, refuse to elaborate beyond basics, leave.
Alright, I gotta go.
The
Well,
Chad.
I'm glad he fitted at least. So
Sad car
John.
noises.
Wait, what?
Sad car noises.
Well, John, do you have honorable mentions or no?
Not really, cause I was careful when I was buying my video games usually.
See,
So
exactly
you-
The
like
lesson
Tim
we've
said.
learned from this stream is a lot of us are like, we didn't get disappointed because most of us didn't get overhyped for games.
Yeah,
we were
so like,
careful with our money.
it's like I saw a gameplay of Arkham Origins and Night, and I was like, the premise doesn't really grab me like Arkham City and Arkham Asylum. So I was like, nah, I'll skip out on it. I'll just watch the walkthroughs.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I guess, before I let you guys just go into the meat of all your lists, I might as well just give my list all in one go. This serves as like a good intermission / transition because, like I said, maybe it's kind of like what Tim said, where thinking back, not only were there not really much games that ever genuinely disappointed me, I think my tastes were pretty established, and I usually wouldn't get games like until way later. I never really was able to like jump on immediate hype. I don't think I was ever in a position to disappoint myself on games, except for the only series where I did ride on initial hype. Can you guess what that freaking is?
Little Big Planet.
I still haven't played a single Little Big Planet game.
Knack 2, baby.
It's Super Mario.
Nah, it's Knack 2. You are so hyped for Knack.
Bro,
My faith in the Super Mario series.
gosh dang it.
You're like me, you have faith in all Warhammer 40k games, even though they all suck.
No, wait, let me guess. The Legend of Zelda.
Well, so
sorry.
Legend of
sorry.
Zelda is a series
sorry.
that for the longest time I hadn't played, and then I finally played the Wii U version of Wind Waker, and I was like, holy frick, this game is freaking cool. Legend of
Yeah.
Zelda's sick. And then I never played any other Legend of Zelda ever again.
That's okay. Only playing Wind Waker HD is a perfectly fine way because you played, in my opinion, the best Zelda. Or at least it's my
gosh, I love
personal
that.
favorite. It might not be the best, but my favorite is Wind Waker. And then the HD port on Wii U is fantastic.
Make a Zelda game with Sheik as the main character, and then I'll play Zelda.
They did. It's called
So-
Hyrule Warriors, and that game is also really good.
I was gonna say the alternative would basically just make a Ninja Gaiden, but it's she.
So your number 3 and your number 2 both make complete perfect sense.
And I want to be very specific with my number 1. So, Sonic 06. The thing with Sonic 06 is, I've probably told this story before, but I think Sonic 06 is probably one of the most hyped up Sonic games and they did it in honestly a pretty decent way because they actually advertised the game pretty well. They had all these super sick looking trailers. They had the demo. They had like this random pinball game that like had nothing to do with the actual game. I was hyped for Sonic 06. So much, in fact, I've told people I bought this game before I even owned a 360. That's how hyped I was for this. I bought the game and it was sitting in the case for a month until I finally had a 360. That's how hyped I was for this game. And then I played it. Personally, as you guys figure, if you were alive at the time that the game came out, everyone and their mom was on YouTube posting their Sonic the Hedgehog playthroughs. Top 10 Sonic 06 glitches. You won't believe what happens when you spin on this box. All that content got old mad quick, especially because I was someone that when I played the game, I didn't try to break the game. So I honestly had a very relatively normal playthrough of the game. But to be fair, it was right as I beat the game, like right as I got to the very end of the game, I distinctly remember having the thought, wow, this game kind of sucks.
Just a little.
But for me personally, it's the kind of thing where there was potential and there's a little bit of merit in this game. Like, there's at least a little bit of enjoyable things in there. Or at least I think it's more conceptually. But like a lot of these other examples and like various other times in the Sonic franchise, it's a rushed mess that had potential that you kind of just have to move on from, basically. And it's still funny to this day. This is one of the only games that got actual DLC. It's wild to me. This game got full-on hard mode and side character DLC. That's crazy.
Ball game.
But it is what it is. And like I said, everyone knows the memery that came from this freaking game. I got so tired of it. Anyways, Sonic Forces, mainly disappointing, not only from a story aspect, but...
Oh, you already got two of my top... My bad. I'm just gonna say this.
I figured it's fine.
You got two of my top three. Top five.
Shocker.
Alright.
Sonic Forces, it was the kind of thing where the way it was advertised, there were some expectations like for story, and then you see like the villains being brought in. You got this custom character, so they're embracing the memery. This game,
Everyone's favorite villain, Davok.
gosh,
What the fuck is that name?
Alright, since it's awesome.
I even
Alright.
distinctly told my friends that for better or worse, this game will do okay, like out of infamy or being decent, because I guarantee you 9 out of the 10 people that bought this game bought it for the custom character. I guarantee you, which
I bought it for the
honestly
story.
makes sense because the custom character is the best part about this game.
True. I bought it for the story. Honestly,
Well, that's the thing. The story was so lacking, like severely.
Yeah.
There was something there, like, oh frick, Eggman actually like succeeded. Sonic's been imprisoned, and then they get a bit. They honestly get kind of edgy with the story, and like Tails went to depression or whatever, which actually honestly kind of did happen because Tails' character is trash in this game.
Well,
They
like,
really
the way
do
they-
him poorly.
They
the way
ruined
they
Tails
did
in
it-
this game.
the way how I'm gonna tell you this because like the way the English translations were, it's different from the Japanese, from what I've heard. And Tails did not lose it. They just didn't know where Tails was. Period.
I
That's
mean,
it.
that's fine and all, but either way, they still made him a total weenie. after all of this development that we've had with Tails,
Oh,
even in
they
the freaking
After
Sonic X show.
he himself has taken down multiple of these villains on his own, he
I'll-
is now suddenly terrified of all of them.
I'll
He's terrified
I'll
of
be-
Zero Chaos. Of Zero Chaos Emerald Chaos. Like,
I'll be
come on
honest.
now.
I think they've pretty much went downhill in the character development since Sonic Colors. In my opinion, I would say Sonic Unleashed is where where I felt like Tails' development went down a bit. But I was like, okay, these guys are like dark monsters. Okay, no way. Yeah, I could agree with Tails. I'm like, shoot, you probably fought them and was like, I made that mistake. These guys aren't really. Hey, these guys are really good. Yeah, I mean, these guys are really strong. I can't even hear them with my instruments. I mean, with my mecha skills or anything. I'm screwed, am I?
See, that's fair.
But-
Well, I mean, that's another thing of Sonic Unleashed is that that's literally the only thing I was missing was giving other characters a dynamic spot. That's a conversation for another day, though. But either way, Forces, it's just weird because there's the foundation there, and you even see it sometimes in like the story moments of like the custom characters there, and like everyone like we got a plan, we're gonna do this thing, and it feels like they're an actual resistance, and it's like okay, this is actually getting kind of cool. But outside of that, everything else about the game is whack. The modern Sonic gameplay is watered down Sonic Colors. And you'd know this because literally you can go on YouTube right now and look up any modern Sonic level from Sonic Forces, and everyone will say the same thing, that the modern Sonic levels get really cool at the very end of the level. I don't know why they designed the levels that way, but like all the like quick time event stuff and like the cool cutscene stuff, it happens at the end of modern Sonic's levels. I don't understand. And classic Sonic literally didn't need to be in the game. People might shoot me for that, but classic Sonic literally didn't need to be in Sonic Forces.
I mean,
he served no purpose.
Classic Sonic could have been there, but I don't think he needed to be a playable character. There could have been replaced with someone else, like Tails or,
Yeah, like literally anybody else would have been fine, but he was forced. Like him being playable, and honestly, him even being there was unnecessary. If I'm being
like
honest.
him being there, I'm not mad about. He didn't need to be playable, but he could have been there, just been like, okay, I'm just here, because like you had Sonic Mania. You had Sonic Mania. He went into a different dimension with the Infinite Stone, with the Infinity Stone. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
What's
Phantom
that?
Stone.
Phantom Ruby. That's what it's called.
The Phantom Ruby. And I was like, okay, you know what? I can see that. Okay, Sonic goes into the other world, and you're like, okay, so Sonic had his game. Classic Sonic had his game already, right? Now in Sonic Forces, he's pretty much there for support. He's not there to be like an actual playable character. He's just there to be like, hey, he's a support character.
Yeah, the gameplay didn't need to be there because you felt it in the gameplay too. It was Generations, but worse. Like it was weird. Like how do you make your classic Sonic gameplay feel worse? And you already had made it I don't know. It was weird. It's just typical rushed game shenanigans. And
Feels like Sonic is always trying to figure itself out with gameplay.
yeah, like I mean that's again, this is stuff that we could say for an actual podcast, but if I were to sum up what happens with the modern games is they try to do a combination of pandering to multiple audiences and trying to add something onto their gameplay that they don't really need to. They're always trying to do some kind of actually look at every modern Sonic game. They always try to have some kind of
The meta era.
different thing, like some kind of new wacky thing.
Everybody has a gimmick.
Yeah, which is part of why I didn't enjoy Colors that much. Moving on, Sonic Boom, specifically the Wii U version. Specifically.
Hey.
Also another one. That's fifth place for me. So.
Also give me a second. I'm gonna. What's that level called? There we go. So specifically, I specifically say the Wii version because the handheld versions from what I heard, the first one was fine. The one, the fire and ice one, I tried it. From what I tried, it actually felt okay. It just felt like a basic handheld Sonic game. It was whatever. Uh,
Oh, because I heard it completely opposite. Sonic Boom Fire Nights was better than the other two games. So
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Also, howdy, you. Well, sorry, I'm not on my second monitor, so I haven't been looking at the chat. Um, but yeah, kind of like '06. This is another game that, unless you literally weren't on the internet, everyone knows why this game was disappointing. It's another thing that just got memed to death. Personally, I was the kind of person that was wary at first of like the character redesign and all that stuff, but it not only did it grow on me, but the show actually solidified Boom's Sonic like world as like its own thing, like own respectable thing. Because honestly, I ended up liking the Boom style of characters, even Meathead Knuckles.
I like Meathead Knuckles.
He's hilarious.
He's great.
But the gameplay of Rise of Lyric is such a rushed mess. It feels like it's lacking even more than '06. And you feel the foundation is there. Like, that's what they advertise, that you have each of the characters, they each got their own little ability, and you have, like, the adventure aspect where you have all these areas to explore, and you need to figure out which character can go to where. That aspect was cool. Amy having a triple jump for some reason, that was kind of freaking sick to me, honestly.
yeah.
But you know this game is bad. In fact, this is another thing that I've mentioned in past streams. You know this game is bad when I played it with Jaime, my fiance. We got to the literal end of the game. We were in the middle of the last boss. And I don't remember why, but she just stopped playing. And she was just like, I don't want to play this anymore. And we still haven't finished this game. We literally stopped at the end of the game. We haven't finished it. Gosh, this game is disappointing. But it's another thing where you guys probably know it's the developer issues. Apparently, like a lot of Big Red Button got like laid off during production, and I think there was like some other drama that happened. It's just unfortunate. Sonic games always getting rushed and stuff. What, MCM?
Excuse me. I would say it was, like I said, it's the story and the way they did it. Because, like, when you think of the story, I was thinking about, you know, it's like a Sonic game that takes place years upon years adapted, like, the main story. And I'm thinking, like, you know, Lyric has an unsettling score with Sonic, you know, Sonic or Shadow from back in, like, the modern era and all that stuff. And even the Chaos Emeralds or the gems or whatever they were called. I forgot they were called.
I honestly don't remember the story anymore.
I don't remember the story. I mean, the one thing I liked about it was that it had, at least you could play the different characters, like, unlike the newer Sonic games. Like the main Sonic
it had
games.
a little bit of that adventure aspect, honestly.
It at least if there's one thing I did like about it is that at least I get to play Amy, one of my favorite characters. I get to play Knuckles, get to play Tails and Sonic, and shoot, Six was cool. I actually like Six.
I like Six.
At least
Six
in the
is
PS3.
funny. She's so
Six is
weird,
funny.
but it fits. It's fun. She's funny.
But overall, it felt empty, to be honest. Like, it felt empty. Well, the world felt empty, but I can't fault. I mean,
well, because it really was empty. It was a giant, vast world to explore, but barely any NPCs, and like a lot of the areas just felt lifeless. But again, this is a literally incomplete game, so like. Makes sense.
No Supersonic or Super Shadow. Shadow didn't even. Shadow. It just felt like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Shadow shows up to fight you like twice and then does nothing else.
Yeah, they really just made Shadow a cheesy Saturday morning antagonist.
Exactly. And I was like, hold on. I really liked it if they made Shadow like Shadow from the old days. You know, from Shadow from that same era Shadow. And
Where's my gun?
Where's that?
Well,
damn Force
this is
Chaos?
why if I want you guys to take away anything from Sonic Boom, it's just watch the show. The show
Exactly.
like encapsulates it in a pretty concise and funny manner. All the characters are like they have their slight differences, but it captures all their dynamic pretty well. And even Shadow,
Watch,
he's
there
still
are a million compilations of like funnier moments from it because the show is consistently funny.
yeah, like
The show-
they kept that direction. It's intentionally like a funny Saturday morning cartoon thing,
Yeah.
but like it's
but-
enjoyable.
I tried to report this ticket, but I don't think the courts would accept "gotta go fast" as a medical condition.
It's so self-aware.
But I think that's the beauty of it is that if in a cartoon it would be worth it, but the way they did it in the games it wasn't the same. Like
The game
the
needed like a
DS
whole other
version-
year.
Yeah, in the
Game
game,
is a
everyone
whole
just
nother
repeats the
year.
same 3 or 4 catchphrase quips at each other every time you fight monsters and every time you discover a thing to platform on.
And I mean, like the DS games were better because they had that Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah, they had that Saturday morning cartoon feel from it. But Liza Lyric was not Saturday morning cartoon. It was trying to make itself serious.
It was all over the place and
It was.
needed more time. But
Okay.
it's whatever. In fact, sorry to talk about that so long. This is why I need to do a Sonic podcast. Moving on, David, go ahead and start your list. I don't know if you want to do like just one at a time or if you want to like do it all in one go. Up to you guys.
I'm down for either one.
I could do one go if you want. Let's shoot.
David, what you want to do?
We'll do one at a time. Yeah.
All right. Actually, and John, so you have your 5, right? You're good.
Yeah, I got my 5.
Okay, then we can go one at a time, but if you guys feel inclined to give more than one, you can go right ahead. But go ahead and start, David.
My number 5 is going to be Modern Warfare 3,
Oh,
Okay.
really?
and
Interesting.
yeah. So the reason why I'm labeling it as disappointing, not I don't think it's a bad game. I know a lot of people hate the game. It's has really mixed reviews, and I don't think it's a
Really? I
bad
love the
game
game.
one bit. The multiplayer is pretty fun. And the campaign gameplay is pretty fun too. However, as someone who has played Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3 was definitely a step back story-wise. Both Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2 had some really memorable moments.
Impactful.
Is everyone okay with Modern Warfare spoilers before I go any further?
I'd say go on.
I played through all 3 of them.
Yeah, I'd say
about the chat?
Modern Warfare 2 is iconic to the point where I'd be surprised if people weren't spoiled on Modern Warfare 2 by now. If you haven't been spoiled on Modern Warfare 2 by now, that's impressive.
Congratulations.
Well, anyways, it seems everyone's okay with
Yeah, go ahead.
spoilers. So I'll just say, even Modern Warfare 1, it had some really memorable moments, like the whole nuclear bomb scene. Remember that? How you were
Yeah.
basically walking inside a city that was just hit by an atomic bomb, and that was released back in 2007, and that was really ahead of its time, and it was really memorable moment. It's a great plot twist story-wise, how it looked like it was just going to be it was just going to be a standard game. He plays the English and then he plays Americans, and then suddenly all the Americans get killed off. You're like, oh wow, this is a totally different story now. And then it added in an actual story to the game, and the OG characters, Captain Price, Ghost, all those OG characters, and especially Modern Warfare 2, of course, is Gerald said, it's very iconic. And the Modern Warfare 2 really had great plot twists, and I already mentioned this in another stream, but I really like the other nuclear bombing scene Modern Warfare 2 had. I like how you saw from Captain Price's view, how the English soldiers their point of view, how the bomb was set up there, and you could see how shocked Ghost was. And I like the fact that Captain Price let out his kind of semi dark side by basically causing purposely nuking an American city. So it was basically strategic to try to for the war, but on all that, it was still kind of a nasty strategy. And yeah, I really like how suddenly you switch to the Americans' point of view, where all the electricity is gone, how they're basically in a city that's nuked, and all that emotion to the scene was really creative, and it really added to the story. It made you feel like you were like part of the game. You see, the problem with Modern Warfare 3 is that it didn't have those kind of plot twists and those connections and emotional scenes. And that's kind of putting it mildly. It had a few good scenes. It had, I think, maybe 2 good scenes. But you see, in all honesty, I think without the OG characters, the memorable characters like Price, Soap, Makarov, the villain Makarov, without all those OG characters, Modern Warfare 3 campaign would have been like a so what Call of Duty campaign. Would have been a forgettable campaign. I like the ending. I thought the ending was pretty good. The story itself, come on, kidnapping the president's daughter and all that. I mean, it was a very cliche story, and it was very disappointing after playing through both Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2. And, especially in Modern Warfare 2, I did mention the airport scene. I won't mention it here. I've already mentioned this in their stream, but basically the airport scene and how that set up a war and how it showed how clever Makarov was, that was also really brilliant writing. What I'm trying to say is that Modern Warfare 3 and also the multiplayer mode was still pretty good, but it wasn't as creative as Modern Warfare 2. It basically just got a lot of what Modern Warfare 2 had and was made better, and that itself wasn't really disappointing. But what was disappointing was just the story itself. It had some good emotional scenes, but it just wasn't. Well, as I said, without those OG characters, it would have been a so what story. That was the only thing that made the story somewhat interesting, was the fact that the memorable characters were inside the story, and there was an epic final scene as well.
It was essentially a step down from Modern Warfare 2, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, and that's why I'm calling this a disappointing list. I'm not saying it's a bad game.
Yeah.
Just disappointing.
Didn't live up to the expectation.
Yeah, and majorly disappointing, especially as I said, step down from I think one of the greatest, my opinion, one of my favorite stories of all time. I mentioned this in our list. One of my favorite stories of all time in Modern Warfare 2, suddenly dropping down to a story maybe barely above the level of mediocre. So,
Yeah, because I kind of agree with you in the sense of there wasn't too many iconic moments in the third one as there was the other 2. You gotta think more about it with 3.
That makes sense. Well, the main reason I'd say that probably is because, when you think about it, Modern Warfare 3 really is just meant to just wrap up everything that 1 and 2 built up to. And it'd be cool if they could have been, I guess, a bit more creative with, what they did. But I guess they didn't really have anything else in mind aside from just, you're really just bringing this epic journey to a conclusion. And there really wasn't anything else to that, really.
That's true. But they still could have used an original stories. They cut of all stories, kidnap the president's daughter. You know how many films have done that, and
over and over.
Yeah, they basically just use a cliche story with OG characters, and I think they definitely could have done more with than a cliche story. And one thing I wanted to mention though is that I actually later I found out why that the story wasn't that good is because some of the writers that were responsible for writing Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, those legendary stories, they actually left the company. So that's actually a big reason why the Modern Warfare 3 ended up noticeably worse, story-wise than 2 and 1.
Dang.
Mine's
That makes sense
then.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And I just want to say, gameplay-wise, it just, you see, Modern Warfare 2 did a good job building off of Modern Warfare 1, but in my opinion, Modern Warfare 3 also did do a semi-decent job, but wasn't as good as a job of building up from Modern Warfare 2. It was like they were basically recycling a lot of the good things Modern Warfare 2 had and putting it into Modern Warfare 3, and they didn't, up the game. but that slightly contributes to why I'm putting it on to the disappointing list. But of course, I already mentioned the story is the main reason why it made it on the list.
Gotcha.
Well, you can even say I think the best thing about the Modern Warfare 3 was the survival mode. I think that was the best part of the new stuff. But other than that, the maps weren't that
what was it called?
interesting. But they did have team kill confirmed.
Yeah, that was you're right. That was a good game mode added in.
I think it was just the maps weren't as interesting, but the game modes were pretty good.
Yeah, I do agree there. I would say that the only good map, really memorable map, was the terminal. But of course, that was that's the exact same map from Modern Warfare 2. So
Yeah.
I do agree there. But yeah, that was because as I said, the gameplay itself, the maps weren't really that interesting or creative. But as John just said, and the gameplay itself was good. But that's a reason why I'm saying it's only slightly contributing to the fact that I'm putting it on the disappointing list. If let's say that the story wasn't as bad as it was, I might have just kept it as an honorable mention, but because of how much of a downfall it is, I figured it was worth moving it up to the top 5 list.
Gotcha.
Is there any questions or comments before we move on?
Nah,
you're
you
good.
said what you needed to say. That was actually.
Go ahead.
I mean, no, you just said what you needed to say. I respect that.
And I was gonna say, you said you wanted to just do one, right? So, I guess we'll go to Tim then.
Yeah, we could do the usual, maybe 1 and then get to top 3 and see what we want to do from there.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Go ahead then, Tim.
So my number 5. Those of you who watch the stream know by now, 100% Orange Juice, great game, tons of fun, absolutely crazy, worth playing. 200% Mixed Juice is a waste of time.
Jinkies.
200% Mixed Juice is I believe it's free. I don't remember. Nope, you do. I think you do have to pay for it. Yep, it is bought. You do have to buy it. It is an RPG using the characters from Orange Juice. So at first you think, oh, that could be kind of fun. I like these characters. At least I liked them in 100% Orange Juice and thought it was kind of fun. Well, it's an RPG where you use 3 people that you have to pull in a gacha to get. And it has a rock, paper, scissors type chart going on. So the overall game is a lot of hope that you gacha, get good cards, make sure you level them up and also bring enough of the abilities and types to beat whatever you're playing against. And there's a lot of things you can fuse cards to get new ones, but of course you don't know any good fusions unless you look up a guide, because the game's certainly not going to tell you. And basically, it's 5 hours of grinding, hoping for good rolls, looking up a guide, and rock, paper, scissors.
So this is OJ Gacha that you can't even wail on, you just have to grind and
You have to grind to keep doing, and also hope that you either grind to get good cards, or you grind to level up the things you've got to be decent. Because even though rock, paper, scissors is there, it's rock, paper, scissors at the beginning, and then after that it's just massive differences in stats to the point to where if you don't grind or get good cards, it's pointless.
Dang.
It's very bland, and it was not... I wanted to do enjoyable things and see stuff with these characters. The story is silly and fun, and the characters are fun to watch interact, but the gameplay is very bleh. And I was like, dang it, I was hoping for a little more shenanigans and fun, and instead I got grinding and
I might
gacha.
get shot for this, but I'd say at that point you might as well just make it a full-on gacha and just let people wail for good stuff.
It'd be more interesting. They could do more with it. But yeah, 100% mixed, 100% orange juice, great game. 200% mixed juice, not so much.
Dang. Hopefully Crow doesn't come out from the shadows.
They're gonna be like, nah, I agree.
See, that'll make sense. Did you want to give more games, or did you want to just stick with one at a time for now?
I'm down for the one at a time for now.
Okay. M. Samizzle.
Did you just call me instant?
Don't worry about it. What's your number 5?
B-boy, don't make me come over there and just hit you with the Anamutsube. No, I'm hitting you with the hawk. I'm gonna hit you with the hawk. Let's go ahead and stop right
to
there.
show up to the first Senkou local with a freaking hawk. What's your number 5?
Jesus.
Okay, honestly, this is gonna probably be controversial, but Sonic Rush.
Oh.
Honestly,
That's not something I expected to be on this list.
Wow. Well, I'll give you a reason, and I guess this is coming from my time as this is, I was into Sonic. I was in the Sonic Advance series, so that was my favorite, 2D fight.
Well,
2D
that's what's
fight.
shocking me, that going from Advance to Rush, you'd be disappointed.
I mean, Rush, at first, I'm going to be honest with you, at first, it was a good game. I did like it when I was younger. Going back to it now, it just doesn't feel... It didn't have that same feel, or that same, I guess, emotional impact as it did to me with the Advance series. It didn't have that same adventure feeling, or that same rush.
Well, you want to know why? Because all that is in Rush Adventure.
Well, even then, Rush Adventure was kind of disappointing as well.
Really?
Yeah. So just the Rush series as a whole, it just didn't. It didn't have that feel, or that kind of, I don't know what's the word for it, but it didn't have that same hype as I did with the Rush, as I did with the Advance series. So coming from that to Rush, and this is, like I said, at first I liked them, but then after a while I was just like, they're not something I remember them like. I was like, oh, Rush series, oh, the Rush series.
That is a very interesting thing to hear, because I'm the dead opposite.
Dang.
Because the Advanced series, I extremely loved the Advanced series. And I still think Advanced 3 is probably top 10 Sonic games ever. But the Rush games, actually, the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure I played a tiny bit of the first Rush, never got to really play it, and then at some point, I don't remember if I bought Rush Adventure or if I was borrowing it from a friend, but I played through Rush Adventure, and I loved the frick out of that game, because it basically...
That's the reason.
Yeah, because basically,
going
from the Advanced series to Rush, it was basically the boost games before the 3D games did boost. Because the Advanced series, part of what was make them so fun is that there was speed in it, where you got your speed from precision, where if you'd keep Sonic running for long enough without obstruction, he'd get that after image effect, and that was freaking hype to me, honestly. But Rush introduced the boost, where you had this meter, and it was all right, go to town, go fast. And I was like, holy frick, these games are amazing. So that's interesting to hear.
But I think it also comes to account that it was just Sonic and Blaze you could play as well.
Oh.
Instead of okay, so like I said, the reason why I like the Sonic games mostly is that you didn't just play Sonic. You didn't play Sonic games just for Sonic. At least not until not after 06. At least the games before 06.
Yeah, Advanced 3 has done playing as multiple characters better than almost every modern Sonic game.
I would say even Sonic Heroes. Sonic Heroes wasn't as good as Advanced 3 in my opinion. If there's a game that I would say that solidified myself as a Sonic fan, and it would not be Sonic Adventure, it would be Sonic Advance 3. So you can imagine, I wanted those games to be just I guess my expectations, but also I was younger. But now look at my taste now compared to back then, I was just they're not games I fondly think of. They're not. There's not a whole lot of characters that I get to play as. I just get to play as two of them, and both of them are basically themselves and from opposite worlds. And if you gender bend them.
Yeah, I forgot how they did the story, in fact, for the Rush series. 'Cause I think Tails was there.
Tails,
Kind of like
Tails
Unleashed,
was,
where he's more of an assistant, helping
yeah,
with, like,
and Cream was the
tech-related
assistant
things.
for Blaze. Blaze.
Yeah.
So their world was basically, because Eggman, Nega, and Eggman decided to team up to conquer the world, if I remember correctly. Their
Yeah.
worlds were about to come into a collision because Blaze was there and Eggman, Nega was there. And so they had to go ahead and get the emeralds, both their respective emeralds, to go ahead and take the Eggman, and then separate their universes before their worlds hit a collision. And then the next game, Rush Adventures, where Sonic and Tails go, I guess their tornado gets hit by a thunderstorm or something, and they go into another world. And they go into Blaze's world. And now they
Yeah,
gotta
they're,
try
like,
to
on
find
an
a way
island
back home.
and stuff. And, yeah.
Right. They're on Blaze's world, so.
Yeah, when you
Alright.
compare them that way, it makes sense. And now it's making me miss the Advance era even more.
Yeah. But I'm gonna have to go. I'll be right back. So I mean, I wanted to tell you what my reason why.
That definitely surprised me. Thank you, man.
All right. Yeah. I'll be
Let me
back.
know when you're back. John, what's your number
Good.
5?
That would be. Yeah, I'm having a hard time ordering this, but I'm going to put WWE 2K20,
Wait, what?
WWE
Oh,
2K20.
WWE
Ooh,
2K.
ooh, that one is
Ooh, I pre-ordered that.
Wait, which one is that one again?
I don't know if you know anything about it, but
I see the
WWE
case.
2K19. It was a pretty good game, gameplay wise, customization wise. Everything looked pretty good. Heck, customization was pretty up there too. I think it was a pretty good game. Then you go to WWE 2K20, which is literally a step down from everything there is, from customization, graphics. I mean, you still got the same moves, but another problem with the game is that there's a shit ton of glitches.
Yeah, the game was awful at launch, and it didn't get any better.
I like what's coming up with the freaking search. Is WWE 2K20 still bad? And it's an article of 13 reasons it's actually a great game.
Okay, 13 reasons could shut the hell up.
And then
Reason
both-
1, we were lying. Reason 2, please don't buy it.
Oh, jeez.
Do not make my mistake.
Just
I
didn't
pre-ordered the
deliver.
game thinking that, hey, if 2K19 was just pretty good, maybe they step up their game with 2K20. To my demise,
It was awful.
it was terrible. Like, I don't know, you should look up a video on your own time of like some 2K20 glitches. There was
Watch
some
people
crazy
clip
shit.
through like everything,
Oh, dear.
and their animations just mess up, and like people's faces like disappear. Like it's horrible.
The faces look worse, the hair looks worse.
I feel
hair
like I might have
physics
heard
black.
about this at some point. Maybe Critical did a video on it, probably.
See, what else is there to say about this game? It's like, just literally, we had this. Hey, we went pretty good with 2K19. All right, now, I don't know what happened. I think there was something going on with development or something that kind of like screwed up or something.
Yeah, is there
Like,
like
they
some
gave it to, like, a
developer
smaller
drama or
team.
something?
I think they gave it to like a smaller team and told them to like work with it, and this was the best they could do on their own.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was like a messed up situation of like, we're just going to give it to these guys, and yeah, we think it would come out pretty good. It didn't.
It didn't. Spoiler.
So, you wondering why there's no WWE 2K21? This is the reason.
Always, they're legit. Like the series just stopped so far.
There's 2K22 announced right now, I think.
Dang, they straight up skipped over to 20.
They focused on like a side game instead of the 2K series. They were like, yeah, we're gonna just not.
Dang, they're gonna need to super bounce back.
Yeah, they're working on WWE 2K22. The last thing I heard, promising wise, was like, hey, they took a look at like the old SmackDown versus Raw games, which are also pretty good.
Oh,
They're very
You know,
fun.
they had interesting stories. They're like pretty goofy. They're interesting wise. It had like a general manager mode where you could go against the other brands using certain superstars in your brand to like have better ratings than others. Have rivalry set up. It's pretty dope. But my worry is like, I don't know. I'm looking up. I just looked up WWE 2K22 and it looks like, I don't know. One of the first videos is what is happening with this game, and it's like bad. I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm not pre-ordering this one. I'm just going to see what happens. It looks good. But yeah,
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
yeah.
Also, I just realized something that I was supposed to fix earlier. But David, go ahead and give your number 4. I just gotta check something.
All right. Number 4 is going to be Soul Calibur 4.
Hmm.
So there are some. I don't think Soul Calibur 4 is really that is like a horrible game, but it definitely, in my opinion, did take a step down. How many of you played Soul Calibur 3? Or was it even Soul Calibur 2?
Might have been a hot minute ago, to be honest.
5 was my first one.
5 is your first one. All right, so basically, both even Soul Calibur 1 on the Dreamcast, Soul Calibur 1, Soul Calibur 2, Soul Calibur 3, Soul Blade or Soul Edge, that's the original game, that's the original one on the PS1. All of those games just had so much to do with it. They actually had for a fighting game, they had really decent stories, and I really enjoy how each fighter had their own story mode, and even the mini games some of them had were really good. And you know, Soul Calibur 2, I like the whole Weapon Master mode where you had to go through different conditions, like you would basically travel to certain areas in the game. And you would have matches where certain conditions was almost like a mini game. And the arcade mode, the survival mode, the team battle mode, they were all really great. And then Soul Calibur 3 really upped the game because they actually added in a turn-based strategy game in there. It was almost like think of it as a turn-based strategy game where two characters then meet up, and then it suddenly turns into traditional Soul Calibur gameplay. And what I liked about the Soul Calibur 3 gameplay was how there were multiple paths you could take into the story mode, and especially in endings where one press of the button could basically change the ending and all that. And there were just so many details, just so much to do in Soul Calibur 3. Then Soul Calibur 4 came, and make no mistake, I really think that the gameplay was still pretty good. I like how they added in a critical finish, which was kind of like a censored fatality. I thought that was really creative. And I respect the fact they wanted to do a little experiment with the gameplay. However, I just thought that the modes were very disappointing. Like the Weapon Master mode in Soul Calibur 2, they basically recycled that into Soul Calibur 4, and it was really boring. It was basically just a bunch of modes with repetitive mini games, like nothing really creative. And in my opinion, one of the worst things about it was the fact that the Star Wars characters were definitely wasted potential in the game. Their stories were really cliche. It wasn't even really related to Star Wars. They had, it was like they were being forced into the game just to promote Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. And not to mention the fact, this is probably just me, that I'm, as a Star Wars fan, this is kind of disappointing. But the lightsabers weren't even like real lightsabers. They were basically like batons. That's what they call them, right? The police batons. Yeah, batons. They were more like batons. They weren't even like real lightsabers. So the only really good thing about Soul Calibur 4 was that the gameplay was fine. they wanted to focus more on online gameplay, which is why I guess a lot of the single player content, the creativity was taken away. I honestly thought the story was really awful. After the story being really, really good for a fighting game was great. You know, the first 4 games of the franchise. Then Soul Calibur 4 came out, and then it was a complete. The story was a complete disaster. Very forgettable villain, and the game modes were just really disappointing. They were just kind of repetitive, and they were basically, some of the stuff was recycled, but in a bad way from previous Soul Calibur games, and there was just basically no creativity, like just gameplay. And the create a character mode was fine. That was pretty good. And again, it's a disappointing game because I really, especially when it came on the PS3, I was really expecting them to up their game, but it just kind of went backwards. And again, you know, I could have this could have been an honorable mention. And again, this is just my personal opinion, and it probably, you know, I might sound a little bit biased, but as a Star Wars fan, I was just super disappointed at how the Star Wars characters fit in the game. If the Star Wars characters, if they did not have Star Wars character in the game, this would probably just be like an honorable mention. But the fact that the Star Wars characters were a real disaster in the game, you know, they felt like they were forced in, was what got me to put it up in this list.
I mean, to me, you can't complain too much if you had the Xbox version, because you had probably the most annoying character to play as.
Yoda.
was crazy.
Yeah. Yoda, I think. Yeah. He became a DLC in the PS3 version as well, I believe. And Vader, you could download in the 360 for a small fee. What were you saying?
Oh, that's it. I was just making a joke. Thank God for Soul Calibur 6, though.
Yeah, Soul Calibur 6, I agree. Soul Calibur 6 really did bring the franchise back to what it used to be. I really enjoyed it.
Good, man.
They brought in
Like,
2B.
it doesn't have like all the crazy cutscenes and stuff, but man, the story is very interesting. I like it.
Yeah. For a low budget game, you know, they had a really low budget game because you know, Soul Calibur 5 almost killed the franchise because it's sold so poorly. So, for a low budget game, it was pretty good. Yeah, you know, Soul Calibur 5. It was Soul Calibur 5 in particular, not 4. It was 5. Well, just basically, long story short, remember that big tsunami that hit Japan that almost it almost actually nuked a city. It almost hit. I heard that the tsunami actually almost hit a nuclear power plant that just would have caused a complete disaster. So basically, that tsunami actually affected the company that was making Soul Calibur 5, and it destroyed a bunch of the equipment.
Oh shit!
So as a result, they actually had to rush the game to make sure it was released in 2012. And I think it would have been better to just delay the game. Instead, they rushed it, and that's why a lot of people think Soul Calibur 5 is the worst in the franchise. They say the competitive gameplay is pretty good, but outside of the competitive gameplay, if you're a casual player, you're not really going to find it that enjoyable.
Honestly, because Soul Calibur, I was gonna say, like, when I saw Soul Calibur 4, I was like, Soul Calibur 4 was a great way to end an era, like in its series, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, but the idea of Soul Calibur 5 is supposed to be like the next era.
Exactly, and I guess.
But it just it was probably that same issue. They probably wanted to do more, but due to like circumstances, they couldn't do that more stuff because it seems like you had like all these like other smaller characters that they added in.
Yeah.
But they just kind of went. They weren't able to go anywhere with them.
Soul Calibur 4, the reason, you know, I thought the villain, the villain Algo, that's what do you call him? I thought he was just so cliche, you know, very forgettable villain, you know, unlike Inferno. And I remember Zasalamel from Soul Calibur 3. He was, you know, really original villain, how he wasn't even that bad of a guy. He really just wanted to, you know, he had his reasons, to avoid spoilers. He had legitimate reasons to do what he was doing. And Inferno was, you know, of course, the OG Soul Calibur villain. And then we have Algo, who's just this, like, no dimension at all. I mean, he's you know, very forgettable villain, and he, you know, there is a semi plot twist, which is was a pretty cliche, I wouldn't say predictable, but very cliche plot twist, which I was like, really, they
Sophia's
had to
ending?
add that in. What were you saying?
Just like in Sophia's ending, where
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Alright,
no, yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was more like, really, they had to, they squeezed that in, and also, and I also thought that some of the stages weren't really that creative. Some of the stages were recycled from previous games. I thought the stages weren't that creative, and I thought the music was also a downfall too. The reason why I label it disappointing is that most of the things in Soul Calibur were just kind of a step backwards from the previous games.
Mm-hmm.
What were you saying?
The reason why I like Soul Calibur, like I said, Soul Calibur 4, it ended. Now I play Siegfried, Achilles, and Sophia. Those are my main. Those are the characters I play, and Xiangua as well. But if I was to be honest, the way how Siegfried ending, I felt like that was like the true ending. Like him and Nightmare basically crystallized. Their rivalry is over. Siegfried has beaten Nightmare, and now I don't know. Their death is basically the death of Siegfried and what's his name, Nightmare is basically an end to Soul Calibur, So it's just like, okay, this is a way to send off the characters, Jiangua and Killig, and even Cassandra and Sophia. The way they end an era, Calibur. And even though it wasn't in Soul Calibur as much as like Tekken or even Dead or Alive, it was an era that I got to see. So
And I can see your point of view. I hear you. I can understand your point of view, and we have our different opinions. And I actually do agree that Siegfried's ending was good, and Soul Calibur 4 did have some good endings, but there are also some characters who were just kind of, thrown in the sidelines. They were kind of treated like chopped liver. I mean, look at Astaroth. I mean, remember Astaroth's ending? I'm like, really? That's it? That's like I was actually laughing. It was supposed to be very intimidating. I was actually laughing when he was turning into this giant and walking around. There were some other characters who had I think unintentionally comical endings. What were you saying?
no, keep going. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, right? I'm just agreeing with you, and I'm just like, yeah, but the characters that I did play and the endings I did do, even Darth Vader's ending, because let's be honest, seeing Darth Vader and Yoda in there,
Darth
Yeah.
Vader.
let's just say it like this: if it was Anakin Sky, if anybody, my favorite Jedi and Sith Lord, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, chosen one, get to see him actually do like his critical finish. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of like. Now it looks not as cool as it used to be, but seeing it when I like him throwing the saber and then just like hitting you with it, I could feel the dark side pulling through me. I was like, I feel one with the force. I felt so good. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I also thought the Apprentice ending wasn't really that bad either. The where he confronted Darth Vader in the end. In fact, I think it would have been cool if they added in a fight after that. He actually fought Darth Vader there. But I still thought it was pretty
Right.
good. Again, this is probably just my personal bias, but in my opinion, I couldn't get over the fact that the lightsabers didn't really feel like lightsabers. They felt more like swords with light around them.
Like the one you get from Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bonk. Bonk.
yeah, exactly. And again, since I'm a Star Wars fan, I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan. Pre-Disney era. I don't really find the Disney era that bad. I hate it like a lot of other people do. But I'm not a fan of it either. But I am a fan of the pre-era, pre-Disney era Star Wars. So
I feel like we should get going on with this list. It's already like 9:50 or near 50.
I'm sorry,
Actually, yeah, I'm probably gonna need to go in a while, so I think I'll have you guys go ahead and do the rest of your list.
Yeah, shotgun the rest. We'll do the normal.
Yeah.
sorry about that. I
No.
No
got
problem.
carried.
It was a fun conversation anyway.
All right. Well,
But yeah, go ahead and finish up your list then, David.
Okay, in that case, I'll finish the list. So the next game that's going to be on the list, Just want to check the notes. I don't want to put anything in the wrong order. All right, so the next game that's going to be on the list will be Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
The first one?
Yes, the first one. Second one, I did not expect to be good. I didn't bother getting the game; it looked horrible. But the first one, I actually, and this is actually one of the two actual bad games, in my opinion, that are going to be on this list. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. I really had high hopes for that game. You know, as a Star Wars fan, you know, back in the mid 2000s. You know, especially after playing Episode 3 and Battlefront 2, I'm like, man, this game looks great. You know, what a great plot. Darth Vader has this, you know, secret apprentice. I'm like, man, you know, and they were showing all the unique things they're going to be doing with the Force, and it was like they were going to it's like an upgraded Star Wars 3, Episode 3. And then the story turned out to be very cringy, very cliche. And the fact that this guy ended up turning into a Jedi at the end, this guy from the Sith to the Jedi, it was basically like Vader all over again. I'm like, really? And I just thought that the character wasn't really that good, honestly. It's just basically a cliche bad guy to good guy character. And honestly, the fact that he smoked Vader like he was nothing was really bad. I really don't like the way they treated Vader in that game. And the gameplay itself on the PS2, I played both the PS2 and the PS3 versions. The PS2 gameplay was actually better, but was extremely repetitive. Most of the missions were really draggy, a lot too much filler in the game. And then the PS3 ended up basically having no mini games in there at all. There's just a campaign mode. The lightsaber clashes were fine, but there was basically no mini games at all. It's just the campaign mode, which got very repetitive and, you know, very boring. And the Force wasn't really that good. You know, there were 2 unique Force powers you couldn't find anywhere else, but that was pretty much it. So I thought it was a pretty bad game, and to be honest, and it was very disappointing because I really had high hopes for the game. But do you have any questions or comments? Because I don't want to, I'm trying to be a little quick here.
I know I did play the DS version, so yeah, it did feel weird seeing. Huh?
The quality handheld version of games.
Yeah, I had the DS version. I'll be honest, seeing Vader lose like that, I'm like, yeah, like when you now realize how strong Vader really was and how he could have, and actually, I listened to a guy called Star Wars Theory, so you know, after kind of getting a perspective, like how strong Vader is from his channel, and like actually his fight between Luke and Vader in like Episode 6, and like how he said like Vader was going easy on Luke. I was in like, and then another video where it was just like, where you don't beat Vader, you just last enough to survive. You only have to survive.
Oh, Fallen Order.
It wasn't only. But honestly, yeah, I agree. It's like, you beating Vader, it's like, especially Vader after. But I can also say the reason why he beat Vader, because at that time Vader was not used to his suit. Or I would say he's not. Oh well, hold on, because it takes place right before Episode 4, so no, I can't say he's not used to his suit, but. It would have been one thing if he was not used to his suit, like Episode 3 Vader, where he's not used to his suit, but it would be another if it's like where he was before, like Episode 4 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was running the game for a little bit in like the PlayStation Now, and I was like, LOL, I could lift up my own troopers and toss them off a cliff. And that was my experience.
Gonna be that guy.
I feel like
that's how far I got into the game.
I feel like with Vader, you have to make him mysterious, or make him not. You can't show Vader fighting a lot, or show him with weaknesses, because then if you like, if you overdo it with Vader, you mess up his character and kind of mess up the man with the suit and all that stuff. In my opinion. I don't know what.
Like, honestly, I think the best presence he had in a video game is just that little scene I saw from him in Fallen Order.
That.
And Rogue One, he was pretty good there too. Remember the movie? Did anyone see the movie Rogue One? They made Vader.
Like video games.
Vader. Nah, that was that was Vader going all in. He was just like,
All
"This is
in.
another day at the office. It's
Like-
another day at the office." Bro. Like,
Yeah, it's like you just enjoy these moments where you're like, shit, I actually fear this guy. Because if you just like watch the old ones, it's like, oh, it's just a funny outfit. Now you look at it in like this like new perspective where everything looks better now with technology and stuff, like graphics wise. Now it's like, oh fuck, that's legit terrifying now.
and then you
One
see,
quick thing. Oh, go ahead.
and then you see him, and then you feel sorry for him in episode 6. And you feel the pity. All right, go ahead.
One quick thing I would like to add in is that another reason why I was disappointed in the story was because I did read 2 of the Star Wars Sith books based on, the dark side of the Force, and they're actually really dark for Star Wars. You don't really expect Star Wars to be really that dark theme, but it's actually kind of really dark and nasty theme to, the Star Wars books. The dark side of the Force really, and especially I read the Star Wars Episode 3 book, and the way Palpatine kills some of those Jedi is a lot more, I would say, for Star Wars, a lot more gruesome than the movie. I don't want to say it in detail on the stream, but it's pretty dark. So I was actually expecting a really, really dark and gritty story when I heard that there was going to be you're going to be playing as a Sith apprentice from Darth Vader, and that turned out to be a cliche bad guy to good guy story. I was like, come on, really?
Yeah.
Any questions or comments before I move on to my next game?
No, I've got
I'm
nothing.
good.
I say
I'm
move
good.
on.
Yeah, here's what we're gonna do. Cause I'm gonna need to go get me some food. I'm going to leave the stream running. I will be muted, but I should be able to edit the doc remotely. But just put your choices in Discord just in case I don't update the doc, and I'll be trying to poke in and out and update it as I go. But you guys can keep chatting and whatnot like usual.
Just a quick
Alright.
question, Ronald. Are you okay with a spoiler for Resident Evil 8?
Yeah. I've been watching 8-Bit Ryan play the game. I had no intention of playing it myself, to be honest. So
Village?
yeah,
I beat it.
I saw
Okay,
the
go ahead.
memes. I watched 8-Bit Ryan play some of the stories so far. I'm not gonna get it myself, so you can go ahead and say.
I had my fun. I kind of want to play it again when I get a chance or feel like it.
Yeah. So you guys go ahead and keep chatting. I will return.
Number 2, this is the second game that is actually not only disappointing, but in all honesty, it's a horrible game. That's going to be Tekken 6. Tekken 6. Yeah, Tekken 6 I had high hopes for, especially after playing Tekken 4 and Tekken 5. I've already mentioned those in another stream, and we're in a bit of a hurry, so I'm not going to say that in detail. But I was really Tekken 6, especially seeing the trailers, it really looked like it was going to be a great game, especially when you saw a mini adventure mode that Tekken 6 was going to have. I was like, dang, this is going to be a great story. It's going to have great gameplay. Then it comes out on the PS3. The graphics are pretty bad, honestly, because they tried to fit the graphics from the arcade into the PS3, which did not work at all. It was a disaster. And then the story was one of the worst stories, not only in games, but of all time I've ever seen. It was horrible. They made the OG Tekken characters look horrible. And you were mainly playing as this forgettable new protagonist, and there was barely any screen time with some of the OG characters, and some of those OG characters' screen time really made them look bad. And the endings from the side story modes, the story mode itself from the characters were just awful, completely awful. And there are a few that were actually funny. Most of them were just cringy and all that. And the gameplay itself might have been okay for a competitive. Some people who play Tekken competitively, or just some people in general, might enjoy the gameplay. But I thought the gameplay was really bad. It was too different than Tekken 5. It was just some of the characters were suddenly bouncing around like, what is this? And everything about that game was just horrible. And I was really hyped up for it, and I'm like, what garbage is this? So that's just me kind of. I'm sorry, a little harsh, but I'm just being fully honest. So, any questions or comments about Tekken 6?
Honestly,
Nah, you're
when I heard
agreeable
Tekken
there.
6, when I first played Tekken 6, but my favorite when I found out my favorite character was an evil villain quotation marks, and
Which
started a war,
character?
I was kind of Kazuma Jin. And I remember he's one of my favorite characters, and I'm like, he's a villain now? Oh my gosh, he's a final boss? And I remember getting my butt whooped. Me and my father got spanked fighting that guy. I was like, holy cow, that guy is gonna be that's a final boss. This guy's harder than Kazuya and Heihachi. I was like, hold on. But honestly, I did feel disappointed with the story a bit. I was
And
just like,
go ahead.
I didn't. Go ahead.
I just thought that the plot twist of Jin turning out to actually be a good guy, basically saying, "Oh, I caused the whole war. I got billions of people. I got half the population killed, literally half the world population killed, maybe more, just so I can bring out a demon and kill it." I'm like, what garbage is
Well,
this? That's complete
I think he was trying
garbage.
to kill, cause like when I saw, from what I read, I was like, it looked like he was trying to kill himself more so than anything.
He was basically
And
trying to get rid of the devil bloodline.
yeah, exactly.
And
I
then,
think
but
that's what's gonna
kill,
happen.
but start a whole world, a world war and kill what 3 to 4 billion people to do that. I'm like, really? You sacrifice that many lives, and then now you're supposed to be considered like the hero. Like I'm like, what kind of garbage
Well,
is that? I mean, that's
cause
it's,
Well, he's not
remember
a
correctly,
hero.
Nina said whether you liked, where you agreed with what he did or not is up to you, but did what he did. And honestly, as much as I kind of get where you're coming from, I get where you're coming from. Sometimes the pathway to heaven is filled with good actions. That not being a good action is to actually start a war. You don't have to actually start a war to go ahead and summon out a demon to go ahead and kill it and kill yourself in the process. But I mean,
and also and and you know the funny thing is that it didn't even work. Jin still had the devil bloodline in him. He failed. He
for
basically
sure.
killed 3 billion people for nothing, or 4 billion people for nothing. That was like the
Well,
funny part.
he killed the demon, but the demon is now living in some woman. I forgot her name.
I
Let
don't
me
know if
just.
that's canon though. What's her name?
I don't know if that's how it's
Sapina?
She
working.
has like a spirit. She has like a fraction of his power
Yeah, but
left.
we're not sure if that's really canon, honestly, because
Yeah.
in Tekken 7, to be honest, the only thing I really consider canon, like that's guaranteed canon, is the main story itself. All
Right.
the side missions, we're not really sure if they're actually canon or not.
I feel like it's canon, Zafina. Like they
Yeah,
wouldn't put in that stuff out. Like why not?
Honestly, I just don't want to see. I'm hoping Jin doesn't just. I hope Jin doesn't just go ahead and kill himself. I'd rather see Jin live a good life. But that's just me.
If anything, I just want. I'm just curious what the going to go on with Kazuya and Jin, since it's not just them two instead of Yapi
Yeah,
and
I think to be honest, I think I don't really think see Jin he has all he's pissed off so many people and the whole world literally wants to kill him now. There's no way he can live a normal life. He basically signed that away when he decided to start a world war. So he has to he
Well,
has to face
I
the end of
mean-
that path. You
You
know.
know,
Well, I mean,
Fair
you never
taking
know. You could
from
probably
Steph,
you could
and
you
kills.
could fake
Because-
kill yourself. Oh, go ahead. You can fake kill yourself, and then
Yeah, I don't know if that'd work. They're people. What's his name? Miguel. That's his name.
okay, definitely Miguel.
I like this ending.
Yeah, that was good in Tekken 7. You know, even if he faked it, I mean, you see, he has so much hate that, there people, smart people could easily figure that out, like, especially people like Miguel who are motivated enough to, kill Jin. People like him can figure that out. There's no way he can live a normal life. What were you saying?
Yeah, I get that. I guess you're right, but I'm like, at least, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's gonna come out with Jin having to die in the process.
Jin must die.
It's unfortunate because I liked it that he didn't. I didn't want him to die. This one must, like I said, you don't want to see your favorite character go. I'd rather him live a happy life. But sometimes the crimes you commit kind of like Sasuke, you can't get away with. And unfortunately,
that's yeah.
he's unfortunately not a Sasuke Uchiha. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how Sasuke got away with all those crimes. I think the fact that he ended up basically turning into a good guy and was forgiven, I thought that was a little ridiculous in Naruto after everything he did.
I think it's not that. I don't. Did he kill
Well,
anyone?
Sasuke didn't actually kill 1 billion people. He did, attack an international faction. He what they call that, the five Kage summit. He did attack that, which made him an international criminal. But he didn't kill 4 billion people like Jin did.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess you could see that, he can't be a Sasuke. That's what I'm like, but you killed all those people, my man. Indirectly, but still, you killed. You didn't kill him directly, but
That's true. But it was actually Toby. You see, Toby was still the one who actually declared the war and Sasuke did work for Toby, but it didn't look like he directly caused a world war. You see, Toby was the one who declared the war. So Sasuke, I still thought it was kind of ridiculous that he ended up living a happily ever after life. But you see, his crimes were nowhere near as severe as Jin. And this is just my personal opinion, but if Jin ends up having a happily ever after life, I'm basically, the Tekken story is going to be dead in my head. I'm saying there's no Tekken story. I'm not going to think about it. It's completely ridiculous now. Complete.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, complete cartoon. It's completely ridiculous. That's what I think. That's just my opinion, though, and I respect other people's opinions. I'm not trying to. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm arguing with you. I'm just basically expressing my point of view, and you have your opinion. I have my opinion. And I respect your opinion.
I get it, and I kind of see where you're coming from as well. All right, so I guess we go to number 1 now.
Yeah. Sorry, we got a little sidetracked, but anyways,
nope,
number
it was
1.
a good discussion.
Yeah. Anyways, as I was saying, let's see. All right, so number 1 is Resident. I typed that in chat already. So Resident Evil 8. Now, this game was definitely not a bad game, and I think in a way it's probably the best game of the entire list. But was it disappointing? Absolutely. It was definitely the most disappointing game. Now, before I go any further, though, let's take a look at the Twitch chat. Is everyone okay with spoilers?
Okay.
I'm okay with it. I already know all the plot points of the game.
I mean, I stopped playing Resident Evil.
To quickly answer your question, Ronald asked a question in the Twitch chat. I just wanted to quickly say that Kazuya, he is a bad guy. Basically, all the Mishimas are bad guys now, except for Lars, but all the Mishimas are the bad guys.
And Jinpachi. Jinpachi was just possessed, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that was just to quickly answer your question, Ronald, because I see it on the chat. But anyways, everyone's okay with is everyone okay with spoilers for Resident Evil 8? I didn't hear clearly.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine.
To be honest with you, I kind of stopped following Resident Evil after, I think, 6 or 8? No, 6 or 4? So I'm like, go ahead, shoot. Okay.
So the main reason why I think Resident Evil 8 was really, really disappointing was because they did dirty with Chris Redfield. They made him look like a horrible character. They basically just put him in the sidelines, but basically made him look like an idiot. That's basically what they did. If I'm to be fully honest, they made Chris Redfield look like a complete idiot. Chris Redfield is supposed to be this legendary character from Resident Evil who survived all these things, and he survived all these events and all that, and he's been the main protagonist in many games, and he's considered the OG of the OG Resident Evil characters. And they just made him look like a complete idiot in Resident Evil 8 because of how he allowed Ethan to die like that. He basically just should have told Ethan the whole thing from the beginning, instead of just basically letting him die. And
Keeps antagonizing Ethan through most of the game, and it's like, bro, I thought you were on my side.
That actually brings me to my next point. In the trailers, something that was very, very misleading is that many trailers really made it look like that Chris Redfield was going to turn into a bad guy. And you're right, they made it look like Chris Redfield was a bad guy. And then suddenly they have this stupid plot twist saying, "Oh no, that was not me I killed. It was someone disguised as me." I'm like, what kind of nonsense is that? It's like they're forcing a reason for Chris Redfield to still be the good old cliche Chris Redfield. And I just think it would have been so much more original if they just had Chris Redfield as the bad guy. I think it would have been a great change of place, a great twist after being the basically the protagonist in I think what five like let's see, Resident Evil 1, Code Veronica, that's 2, 5
Yeah,
is 3,
I mean,
4. So many previous games and 5 previous games, it would have been a great change of pace. It would have been room for change of pace to have him as an actual bad guy. And secondly, in Resident Evil 7, and then Now to Hero DLC, where you get to play as Chris Redfield, you actually you actually see him having a much darker vibe, and he's a lot more savage with the enemies. He has a much more savage personality, and it was really foreshadowing that he was actually going to turn evil, fall to the dark side in Resident Evil 8. So it would have made perfect sense if he was the bad guy, but no, they just had to have this cliche ending where Ethan sacrifices himself, and then Chris looks like a bone stupid idiot at the end. And it's just same old cliche Chris Redfield, but he's a complete idiot. So that, in my opinion, really ruined Chris Redfield's character, and it really kind of ruined the story at the end. And the other thing that really I thought was a waste of potential. Heisenberg from Resident Evil 8, the guy in glasses, basically.
Right.
He was complete waste of potential. He easily could have become a long-term Resident Evil villain, kind of like Wesker. But no,
Hey.
I
Oh, go ahead.
I remember when I first saw the cutscene, he, basically saying, "Yeah, you let me guess. I'm next. Here's how the cycle works. You killed 3 of, Mother Miranda's pawns, and let me guess, I'm now a puppet. I'm going to be the next one to go." And he basically said, "Screw that. That's not going to happen. Let's turn the tables. Let's team up together to get, Miranda." And then I was like, wow, this guy actually might actually turn out to be a final villain, or he might survive this thing. And then he turned out to just basically die as a villain, basically saying, "Oh, I'm not going to die as a villain." Or, no, turned out to die as a puppet, like any other villain. And I was really disappointed because I think he had real potential. And it would have been interesting if they actually gave you a multiple ending where you could actually team up with him, and maybe he turns out to be a final boss or a villain in a future game. And I really thought he was a really creative character. He had a really, really interesting personality. And I like the traps he created. And for a moment, I don't know why, but I thought he might have been Lucas Baker from Resident Evil 7 because he kind of talked this. He kind of talked the same way, and he had some very similar traps he created. He was a really interesting character. He's kind of like an upgraded Lucas Baker, but a more dimensional Lucas Baker. He was basically saying, I'm not really a bad guy. I just want to be broken free from the curse, and I'm offering you an alliance here." You see, I think he and Ethan could have been allies. I think Heisenberg was actually willing to listen to reason, and that's what made him more dimensional. He would have. I think if Ethan hadn't just basically said "f you" to him, and if we would have actually said, "Listen, let's team up, but he can't use my daughter. That's still my daughter. We'll figure out a way to team up against Miranda." I think they could have come to negotiating terms, and I think Heisenberg could have turned into an ally, or at least a temporary ally.
why
And it
not?
would have been really, yeah, that's true. Or it could have turned out to be a villain at the end, and either way would have been original. Both scenarios would have been much better than to just have him die as a puppet like all the other villains, and that was very disappointing. So Chris Redfield and Heisenberg, those are 2 major reasons why
Dang.
I put Resident Evil as number 1 in the list.
Honestly, hearing my boy Chris Redfield get butchered like that's kind of sad. It's because because Chris Redfield, any of the Redfields, those are my homies. Those are like my favorite characters, and Joe Valentine as well. And let's not forget Leon. Leon, that's also a homie.
Yeah.
I think it would have been epic if you had to basically fight Chris Redfield at the end. I remember Resident Evil 4, the Krauser boss battle. I think it would have been
Right.
really epic if you had to fight Chris Redfield similar to Krauser. Imagine if Leon made it into Resident Evil 8 and he ended up fighting Chris Redfield. I mean, they already fought once in 6, so they could fight again.
It's kind of akin to like basically Chris Redfield being the Albert Wesker Resident Evil now.
Yeah, you're right. I think that would have a much better outcome in
I mean,
Resident Evil 8.
to
You know,
me, that
to
wouldn't be a good idea. I don't like the idea. I'm glad that he's not a bad guy, but at the same time, having the idea like, can you Chris Redfield being another Albert Wesker? Oh my gosh.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm hearing. You see, I think it would have been interesting to basically, because Chris Redfield and Wesker, they were arch enemies for so long, and I think it would have been interesting for Chris Redfield to turn into what he hated,
Becomes a
basically.
very thing he swore himself not ever to be.
I'm sorry, what was that? I didn't
He
hear you.
becomes the very thing he did not want to be.
Exactly. You either die a hero or live long enough to see
Long
yourself
enough
become a
to
villain.
become
One of the
a
best
villain.
lines in movies. Um, and yeah, and I figured, Chris Redfield was already like the good guy. He was he had a major role in what, 5 main Resident Evil games, and those are just main
Right.
Resident Evil games. Not to mention all the side games and the comic books, if they're canon, if the comic books and side games are canon. What were you saying? Yeah,
Right. I get that.
So in my opinion, it was just I think there was room for a change of pace.
Or better luck, don't use Chris Redfield like that, like you did in the trailers at all. Shoot, you're either going to go all the way, or you don't have to go all the way.
Yeah.
And to me, it wasn't that bad of an ending. To me, it seemed like, I mean, the ending in the sense of like, well, we know Ethan is like, to me, Chris' part in the game didn't matter too much because we're mostly trying to focus on like Ethan's perspective.
And
In the sense that, like, well, we find out what Ethan is later, and it kind of makes sense why it has to end that way.
yeah, and that's
Plus,
true.
I can't really like when I saw it from the game, I was like, of course, Chris is not going to be a evil dickhead. He just doesn't come off as that way. He's a jarhead. He's a jarhead Boy Scout, basically.
Did you play Resident Evil 7 though, the Not a Hero DLC?
No, I didn't.
Actually, if you play that DLC, you see, I played that DLC. It's a free DLC in Resident Evil 7, and I actually downloaded and played it. And Chris Redfield, actually, his personality, even though he was still a good guy, he had much darker vibe. I mean, he was a lot more savage with Lucas Baker because he was pursuing Lucas Baker, and he was really saying all these nasty things about him. He was saying, "I can't wait to get my hands on this," and basically saying, "I'm going to show no mercy when I get you," and all that. And I was like, man, this is really dark for Chris Redfield. So it was kind of foreshadowing a possibility of him turning into a villain. And in my
I
opinion,
think that's just him being tired of this shit.
that's true.
You can only punch so many
had to deal
boulders.
with Wesker. Now he's got the Bakers to deal with, and now he has to deal with this shape-shifting bitch in the fucking woods. And now, and when you go to the ending, he finds out who was it? What's the new company after they disbanded? Shit.
Umbrella.
Remember Resident Evil lore? I know, like Blue something.
Yeah, Blue Umbrella. You see, Chris Redfield had really rocky relations with Blue Umbrella in Resident Evil 7. He was saying, why are we working with these people? They're the evil people. So that was also foreshadowing him thinking, am I really working for the right company now?
He's like, now I got this to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, Chris is just bombarded with so much bullshit. I kind of see why he could be, like, more pissed off. So maybe, for all we know, hinted at the fact that Ethan has a daughter now. I mean, not hinted, but, like, it's very direct. So who knows where they could go with there, because I'm guessing she's going to be on his side.
Well, but another thing though, you see, if there's one thing I do not like though, is that I don't like misleading trailers. That, in my opinion, is that really makes me look down on a game or a movie or any form of entertainment if there's a misleading trailer. And the trailers legitimately made Chris Redfield look like he was going to be a bad guy, and
well, the trailer to me made it look like I didn't really saw him as a bad guy from the trailer because, like, it's not believable to me that Chris is bad. To me, it was more believable. Well, then again, you have a different perspective since you played the DLC.
That's like part of it. I feel is
But I
because
always
like
like
a lot of
perspective
trailers
plus
will do
something
that.
up.
They'll put something in without context that makes you go, "Wait, what the?" But they
Like-
do it deliberately because it's like the shock value of it. Because you'd be like, "What? Why would Chris do that?" And it's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, guess you
everything's just
gotta
like
play the game to
questions.
find out." Oh, and it's
Yeah,
just a
everything
part
is
of
about
marketing, and
questions.
sometimes it could be annoying. It's like, really, did you really need to do that?
Here's this to I think to explain my perspective in more detail. Pretend that the Star Wars prequels were released before the original trilogy, and you saw Anakin Skywalker, and you in the first two episodes, would you picture him turning into a bad guy?
No,
know,
I wouldn't.
And
I
then
would
you
be
would
actually heartbroken.
yeah, and then in episode three, it would as you say, it would surprise everyone that it would shock everyone saying, "Oh, he turned into a bad guy." But you see, only reason why we saw that coming is because we had the original trilogy released first. And I think it would have been kind of interesting for Chris Redfield to pull in a Darth Vader, an Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, to have him as a long-term villain in the other games. But again, it's just my perspective. I just think it would have been, more creative since he's been the good guy in so many other games.
Then again, if we did have the first 3 episodes out, we wouldn't have the biggest, one of the best plot twists in cinema. So
That's true.
I mean, come on. I mean, nowadays it's like okay, it's kind of like okay, but come on, back in the day, woo, that was a big plot twist.
That's true.
Well, either
But
way, Chris will boulder
you see
punching
the
magical.
but like I was just saying, like, do you see the point I'm trying to make though? It's kind of like
Right.
the only reason why we were surprised is because we knew he was Darth Vader.
Right.
I'm just saying if the prequels were released, you see, we would have been surprised, and I think it would have been an interesting surprise if Chris Redfield turned into a bad guy, or if there was an alternate. Let's say there's an alternate reality where he's a bad guy in Resident Evil, and then they release a prequel where he's a good guy. Lots of possibilities there.
Right, I get that.
The thing is, though, you have to like explain why he would be the bad guy because he don't kill humans without a reason. You need like a strong reason for Chris Redfield to kill like a human being without him like being undead. Like you need like some like Wesker-esque reason to kill him.
Yeah, and what they could have maybe done there besides the Not a Hero DLC, what they could have done was they could have done that and then maybe release a DLC Resident Evil 8, basically showing what made him go nuts or something like that.
Well, then again, they just announced they're like, well, we heard your responses to our game, so we announced DLC at E3.
I hope they bring back
Heisenberg. They didn't really have anything planned. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that when you kill off Heisenberg, though, the Duke, the Duke, right? He's the merchant.
Yeah, we actually more about him.
Yeah. He says that Heisenberg's presence still around, so that's a big hint that Heisenberg has not actually died yet, and we didn't see him fully crumple up into stone like the other villains did. So there is a chance he might still be alive, and I think it'd be good if they brought him.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking of like when you sell his body or something.
I can't even hear myself talk with that. Hang on a second. It's more moment.
Anybody talking right now?
I'm here still. I'm just wondering if we should keep going.
Oh yeah, let's keep going.
But I don't know if paper I want to wait for radiation to go and finish what he says.
His audio went off, I think. I don't know what happened.
That's a big rip.
Yeah, I don't hear him anymore.
Okay, I just muted him. What was that? I couldn't even hear myself talk with that thing.
I heard like a woo woo thing that was like cutting.
Yeah, it's yeah. Do you know that song, the Groovy account that was added in that was playing that song, and I couldn't even hear myself talk with that, so I just muted it. So, what was I saying? I lost track.
I think it was another part of the
DLC.
discussion about like how I think it was expanding on the whole topic of like, oh, when you see a character like, oh, they could becoming evil, but it was a matter of how was it foreshadowed or how we already know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I was also talking about the DLC in Resident Evil 8. I hope they bring back Heisenberg, because I think he had potential there. So we'll see what happens. Again,
But
this is all hypothetical scenario. We know that Chris Redfield is not going to turn into a bad guy.
Yeah, he's
So
going to be a boulder punching asshole.
yeah, yeah.
And
Honestly, I
he'll
think
try to get the Redfield bloodline going.
yeah,
Not through his own blood, but Claire's blood. That's still blood.
yeah.
All right, so I guess we should go to the next one then. Next person.
I'm down with that.
Go to next person.
It looks like that would be me then. Alright, I'll put my 4 in chat real quick with spoilers for getting through them in order. But my number 4 for disappointing video games is Kill la Kill If, the game.
Kill. Wow.
Which is, it is following the curse of anytime any decent enough anime is getting a game, it is usually a mediocre arena fighter. And I'm not the kind of person to get mad at them for getting arena fighters because they can be really fun. Like the Naruto Storm games are mad fun. But Kill la Kill If was really boring. The movesets are really limited and the characters don't they have things that make them unique, but a lot of them don't matter because the health bars are mad low. So you don't really get to actually do anything. It's really bland. And for a series like Kill la Kill to get a game that's really bland is kind of a shame. And I'm like, dang it. The game launched for full price. It tried to be super expensive and everyone was like, it's not worth it. It is not even remotely worth it. It almost immediately dropped in price to $20. And even that I would argue isn't worth it. This is a game that is worth $10 at most for both the rather okay amount of single player content it has and then the very bland verses. It is very lacking in content and depth, and it makes me very sad for a series that oozes style to have such a mediocre game adaptation. I am glad that they included Mako with the Fight Club uniform. I am glad some of the characters are there. I like how all 4 members of Elite Four have their full regalia. I do like how some of them are implemented, but it's just lacking in a lot of ways compared to any other arena fighter. Even the aggressively mediocre Hero Aka games beat it. It's really not that good, and it's a darn shame.
Yeah, this is at this point. B-Boy is even saying it's funny because while there was an attempt at a tourney scene for it.
Yeah. I would have loved it to get the fighters treatment. That would have been mad fun. It would have been great for it. But nah. At this point, I basically either want every game to be fighters or Ninja Storm. Either make it a normal fighting game that's really good, or if you're gonna make it an arena fighter, go all out with it. Make every character have a bunch of crazy stuff, put in a buttload of characters, put in a very good story mode. You gotta make it worth it. And this game didn't really do any of that.
I remember when Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm was went competitive through Afro Senju, and I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yep, that's my number 4. My number 3 is Honey Pop 2 Double Date. So this is gonna be awkward to talk about because the exact reasons this game sucks are weird things to talk about.
Go for it.
Okay.
But so the first game, very good puzzle game, very good very good dating stuff, honestly. The actual characters, it's fun to get to know them. The questions are fun. The having to remember things and give them specific gifts and know their details is very fun. It feeds into a very good gameplay loop where the VN stuff is done very well and the puzzle game stuff is done very well. The sequel amps up the puzzle game with extra difficulty and cuts out all of the VN good stuff. All of it. Like, you don't get as much dialogue with the characters. You don't get any interactions with them one-on-one because the whole gimmick is that it's a double date all the time. And the thing that this is going to be a really awkward thing to say. Honey Pop 2 feels really like slutty. Like cuz one, it takes like 5 dates and you have to do them properly and build up relationships and all that. Double date, it takes 2.
Wow.
It's mad quick, and it makes it feel really skeezy and gross, and I don't like it. It really cuts out a lot of like the actual relationship stuff, and I'm just like, this is really dumb. I know it's cheesy, but I liked talking to the characters.
Hey,
I liked learning about
here's
them.
a logical reason. Here's a logical reason. You already had experience from the first one. Now you're just better at it.
So you're just like, I just got cut straight to the chase.
Yep.
But yeah, it leans really hard into the double aspect, both for gameplay and for story stuff. And gameplay wise, it's okay. It's different. I guess it's deeper, but I honestly prefer the first game's challenge and puzzles far greater, and then the non-puzzle stuff is a severe downgrade. So it was a very lacking sequel, and I am not happy with it. I was very disappointed.
Wow. That I never heard of Honey Pop. I only like probably vaguely, but I was like, huh. I was like,
The
Honey
first game is genuinely fun. It's a
Pop?
very good puzzle game, and the VN stuff is really enjoyable, honestly. But the second game does not live up to the high standard the first one set.
It
There, I thought it was like a.
it's Bejeweled Man Horror edition, basically.
But it's
like,
mad good. High
was like,
recommend. Genuinely fun game.
For a second, I was like, is this a eroge? I was like, oh.
Yeah, kind of. I guess it counts.
I mean, yeah, it is. It's not exactly a
Alright.
stream-friendly game.
It's actually on Twitch's banned game list.
Okay, yeah. And then I looked at it and I was like, yeah, this game is, yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 3. My number 2 most disappointing game, going up with my trend of majority of my games being weeb games, is Love Live School Idol Festival All Stars.
Okay, that's a gotcha, right?
Yes.
I do know about that.
So School Idol Festival is very fun. It is a gacha that is just a rhythm game. The thing for me with gacha games is I don't like them mostly because all the gameplay is just based around gacha. It's literally you get the best unit, and then if you have the best unit, the game plays itself. A lot of gacha games, the end goal is to stop playing the game. It's to have units or have buffs to where you start a thing, press the autoplay, and win and get the rewards. And I hate it. I want to play the video game. School Idol Festival was great because it was just a rhythm game, and I liked the songs, so I liked playing it. So then I heard they're making another one, and it has like 3D animation and full like music videos for the songs and cooler rhythm gameplay, and I was like, sweet. And then it turned out to be an RPG, and like a gacha RPG where you need to like farm resources and build skills and build a team and properly use skills around the rhythm game and do all these strats. And if you don't build a proper team and have meta units, you will fail songs even if you perfect them. And it's like, this is really complicated and this is a lot of work. I just want to play rhythm games.
Wow.
Why did you put grinding and skill trees that are incredibly deep in my rhythm game? I don't want this. I came here to tap buttons to music. I didn't come here to do math.
Fuck.
The
Yeah,
full
but
name
Dad,
is Love Life
I want
School
to
Idol
dance,
Festival
Mom. I don't
All
want to go to
Stars.
school.
Luckily, it didn't eliminate the last game. They didn't make School Idol Festival like outmoded and stop updating it when they released All Stars. They're still updating the old one. So hey,
Yeah,
the old
that's
fun
good, at
rhythm
least.
game is still alive and well. Don't play All Stars. It's really complicated and no fun. And then my number one, my only non-weeb game, and the first game that came to mind the second this topic was brought up, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Oof.
I'm not surprised. I am not surprised.
MVC3 was the game that brought me into fighting games.
Okay.
It is like my big favorite. It holds a massive place in my heart. I adore it. It's so much fun. So then they were like, "Oh, we're doing new MVC." I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great! More MVC! Oh, it looks so good!" And then more info came out, and it didn't look as good. And I was like, "Maybe they'll fix it." And more info came out, and it still didn't look good. And I was like, "Maybe they'll fix it." And then the guy in charge said, "Yeah, there's no X-Men, and none of you guys actually care because they're just functions." And I was like, "Oh no!
I love the
Oh
X-Men.
no!"
I miss Wolverine.
Oh no, you didn't.
And then the game came out.
No.
So, like, the thing that makes MVCI so disappointing is in spite of how bad it looked, and in spite of how worse all the news got when it came out, it's a solid game. Like,
Yeah,
the
that's why I
gameplay
play it.
is really good.
Like, I want to play Venom, but I'm like, man, there's not really anybody I want to play this game with, though.
Because, like, the 2v2 stuff plays very well. The way the team stuff works is great. The stone system is honestly really good. And, like, the character roster, even though I don't like who they picked for it, like, they all play pretty interesting. And characters have their reasons and cool stuff. And, like, it's really fun. Like, I went into MVCI thinking I would have to play a new team because the characters I played in MVCI and MVC3 were like characters that I didn't expect to come back, but like specifically Nemesis and Firebrand. So then, guess who shows up in Infinite? And I was like, "Why are they here? I'm so
Especially
happy they're
Firebrand,
here.
why
Why
is
are
that?
they here?"
Well, you got like bigger, better names, you know?
Like, RE7 just came out and everyone liked it. Put in, like, Jack Baker. Why did we have Arthur and Firebrand?
Well, then again, Nemesis is still like a
Yeah, he's like
notable
iconic
character.
still and cool, but
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we still have Chris and Nemesis. We got rid of Wesker and got rid of Jill. Oh, okay. But
What
like,
I want for like,
I agree. Jack Baker would have been a good addition.
that would have been real cool.
man, what I want, it's like just another. I just want to play as Nero and Jury in a
Oh, that would have
Marvel
been
vs.
super
Capcom
good.
game.
That would have
Jury's
been a
like a
sick team
sick
up.
ass character, and Nero's a sick ass character too. Imagine what the shit you do with like Red Queen and Blue Rose and his grappling moves,
Yeah,
and Jury with her Troy engine. It would have been sick.
this is the one team up game we have where you can run a team of Mega Man X and Zero. This is the one game.
Yes.
Man, come on. Mega Man Zero and X. Ah, man, just that dynamic duo.
I
It's
think we
so
need to play this
good.
game
Like,
more.
this game plays so good, and it has some really good characters. But the
I
sound
think we need to
effects
play this
suck,
game one
and
night.
the music is terrible, and the way a lot of the characters look is gross, and the story mode was awful. And it was just like, as a fighting game, MVCI is great. In literally everything else that is not the fighting, it is awful. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, ugh. And
I probably
then
we need
the
to play this
thing,
game one night sometime.
it's worth playing, it's still fun. The thing that kills it for me, the biggest nail in the coffin for MVCI, is the Infinity Stones like tournament series they did. Because the
Mhm.
official tournament league they did for it was like themed after the Infinity Stones and themed after like a war for them. And they had 6 tournaments leading up to like a final one. And yeah, Battle for the Stones. So here's the thing. Each stone had an effect you used in bracket. So if you won one of the 6 qualifying tournaments, you gained a thing you could use in the following brackets.
What the fuck?
So
Nani?
So here's what the 6 stones did. The Space Stone, if you won it, you could swap your place in bracket.
Wait, how?
You just picked another spot in bracket and teleported yourself where someone else was. You swapped with someone. The Soul Stone took one of your losses in a best of 5 and got rid of it. It was just, oh, you lost a game? No, you didn't. The Time Stone, I believe negates any of the other stones. So if you didn't like what one of the other winners was doing, it was like, hey, you stop that. The Power Stone makes it where when you use it, your opponent has to let you get the first hit. They just have to stand there and let you hit them. The Mind Stone makes you pick your opponent's team. And then worst of all, the Reality Stone
Oh no.
lets you bind your opponent's buttons.
Oh, when you
You
said the
got to
Mind
bind
Stone
3
one,
of
I
their
was like, that
buttons.
had to be the worst one. Then you just tell me that one? Fuck.
And then worst of all, this was the official tournament series they ran. So this was just if you wanted the peak of MVCI gameplay, this was where you had to do it, where these could be used. And the grand prize, the final thing, the Infinity Gauntlet they gave to the winner of the whole shebang, it's like the plastic toy.
Oh my god.
It came off the trophy base and was plastic and light and easy to move.
I mean, don't get me. Let's put it this way: it doesn't sound bad. As like, it sounds like a fun thing to do, just for the hell
It
of
would
it.
be really fun, not as your main competitive event.
Yeah, that's the issue.
It's mad interesting. I like the idea, but not as your. This is our peak gameplay competition of this game.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, dude, what the fuck? Anyways,
Finding your opponent's buttons. Good grief.
so anyways, it's like it has great gameplay, like fun, interesting gameplay, 2v2 aspects. Just that every other aspect of the game is
Yep.
far negates
The
your
roster
wanting
has
to play
really
it.
weird voices. The characters look weird and sound weird, and the sound effects are gross, and the music is a step down from MVC3. And
Like
the
all the
story
reasons
mode was
why you want to play
awful.
a fighting game is pretty much gone. Like all the aesthetic
Like all the
reasons.
like all the charm and anything else besides just gameplay is gone. So it's like, oh cool, it has good gameplay. You know what else has good gameplay? Like 20 other fighting games.
Yeah.
So it's like this isn't gonna keep people coming. And that's why it was very the thing that and that's why when Dragon Ball Fighters came out around the same time, everyone who wanted a cool team fighting game was like, wow, this game sucks. Oh hey, Dragon Ball Fighters, a game that has everything aesthetically perfect.
And plays fun.
And plays really fun. So it was like, oh, yeah, I'm out of here, Marvel.
I will play Morrigan and Venom again one day.
I will play Nemesis and Firebrand again one day. But still, oof. It hurt me so much to see my favorite fighting game get another one and it nail its own coffin so immediately.
And the next time we're getting one is 1 in 14,605,000. Anytime soon, at least.
Yeah. Yep, that's my most disappointing video game.
Dang, that's unfortunate. That's rough. I guess it's my turn. Oh boy. All right. Well, we already got Rise of Lyric already done, so that's fourth. It could be higher, but I'm just like, eh. I didn't really go in order. Number 3, Sonic Colors. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Which console specifically, if I may ask?
Wii and
Okay.
DS, because like
Because I heard like
honestly-
it has differences between versions.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. After Sonic Unleashed and Sonic, and the Black Knight and all that, and that big roller coaster, I kind of felt like Sonic Colors just felt like another Saturday morning cartoon. And also the change in the characters and like the puns and everything. It just, yeah, they were kind of cool for a bit when you're like 15, 16 in high school. You're like, you're into that. But then as you get older, you're like, Rise of Lyric, B-Boy, Rise of Lyric. So after that, it was just like, eh. It was just, it was, it was bland. It was a bland experience.
Feel that?
It was bland. Liking it. Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was. It
Yeah,
was
I
bland.
agree. It was kind of just eh.
It was just. I mean, yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, you got to go ahead and play boost form, which you wanted to do since Sonic and Sonic Unleashed. But I was like, these Sonic Unleashed were funner, or at least they felt goofy, but they weren't goofy. Now they're just like, eh. Number two. God dang, I just had it in my. I had it. I had my notes somewhere, and now I lost them. What was number two again? Shoot. It was debating. I wanted to debate my. I wanted to be in honorable mentions, but I'm gonna put it here. Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna say this. It's not that the game itself was disappointing. Like I love Pokemon, and honestly, I still love the game. Like all the remixes and everything. Got to see a Primal Groundon, Primal Kyogre, but at the same time, I just felt disappointed in the post post story. You know, with the Battle Frontier not being there, you playing the same. You play like the same bosses from the Battle Mice, and it's just like there's no Battle Frontier. I was hyped for the Battle Frontier, like ever since Emerald and the other games. I was like, I'm ready for the Battle Frontier. I'm ready for the Battle Frontier. I literally trained myself, got myself psyched up, and like I'm ready for the Battle Frontier. And this is me back when I started getting into competitive seriously. Like this is when I was able to like go against players who were above my pay grade, and I was starting to take wins off of them. And then I was just like, okay, I could take these guys on. And I'm ready for the Battle Frontier. I don't care how anybody else feels. I'm ready for the Battle Frontier. Bring it. I was so hyped. And then there was no Battle Frontier.
Yep.
And I
It
was
was
just
like,
like,
oh, the thing that was the coolest about this generation, not here.
It's not here. I'm like, you can't celebrate Pokemon. Now, they had the Battle Tower and they didn't have the Battle Mice. If they didn't have use the Battle Mice but use the Battle Tower, I'll be like, okay, well, there's the Battle Tower. At least I get to see the Battle Tower after like what 20 years.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah,
So
I mean, that makes sense. That was the one that was in Ruby and Sapphire. It's like, okay, it would have worked.
okay, it works. But I'm like, when I saw the Battle Frontier wasn't there, I was like, I love the Battle Frontier. Truth be told, I didn't do well in the Battle Frontier. I sucked at Pokemon at the time. I played it very casually, but man, if I went back and played the Battle Frontier, I would be honest with you. I think I could I think I could destroy the Battle Frontier with in my eyes closed. Now, I say that with confidence, but I know how gimmicky the trainers are in that game. But I was like, Battle Frontier. Like they had me going. They had me going with the story, and I was like, hype, hype. I'm hyped. Let's go. And that's how. And that was my. I wish I could give you a face, but I'm just instead. I'm just gonna show you. I'm just gonna give you guys the face. I'm gonna put it on Twitch chat. There you go. That's my face.
Yep.
That was my face. Oh man. I mean, My Hero One Justice. I never played it. That's not. That was. I forgot. I'm forgetting what was number one. I just don't have my notes. Number one. Man. Honestly, number one had to be barely disappointing. It had to be very disappointing for me to go ahead and
One's
put it on
Justice
that
did
list.
have a lot of issues, but to me it was between that or Kill a Kill If for that spot, and I had more hype for Kill a Kill If, which is why I was more disappointed. I expected One's Justice to be mediocre.
Honestly, no, my number nine wasn't that.
And then One's Justice 2 came out, and it has the stupidest name, but at least it has a dub and it has Mineta playable, so I'm very happy.
Well, yeah, I mean, Colors was quite overrated. I just, eh. It was just eh. Oh, you didn't put number 3 in there, B-boy. It was what's it called?
It was Sonic Colors.
It was Sonic Colors. It was Sonic Colors. Just FYI. For number 3. Number 1, I guess no, I don't know. It's like hard to debate because like I have like 3 of them, but I think the most disappointing ones. I think the one of the most disappointing games I was playing. I forgot the name of it. Shoot. Forgot the name of it. Hold on, let me look for it. It was on my Switch. I had it right here too. Honestly, it has to be Mega Man. It was, I think, Mega Man. What was it? Mega Man X4? No, it wasn't X4. It was X Command Mission. Like, I mean, it was cool having. It was cool having like an RPG Mega Man game, but I just felt like it just got boring after a while. I think that was one of them. Honestly, you know what? I'm actually gonna put my number 9 as my number 1 for now.
That's a dang good pick for a number 1.
And honestly, I loved my number 9. I actually did. I actually did like the game, but I'm gonna be realistic with y'all. As much as I did like the game, and I don't, I'm not a big fan of Mega Man games, but eh,
I
it just,
feel the same towards Mighty Number 9, the same way I kind of feel towards Indivisible, of like, they had an idea and the concept is good, but it just isn't executed very well.
and also I'm gonna tie this up with Mega Man 11 because honestly, I feel like what's the name? What is it? Mega Man and My Number 9, both disappointing games. One without Keiji Inafune, one that had Keiji Inafune, and no Capcom, and the other one with Capcom but no Keiji Inafune. Honestly, I just felt like both of them weren't really the same. Didn't have the same feeling when I played like X or Zero, or even like the ZX series Mega Man. So, I mean, honestly, it just, I don't know. Like, my number 9, I did love doing, like, the boosting, like, going ahead and doing all that, like, absorbing enemies, but it just, I don't know. After playing it, like, I wouldn't play it again after a while. Just doesn't feel right.
I can get that, especially
I feel like
because, like what you had said, it sounds like because you prefer like Mega Man X.
I mean, I like Mega Man X and Zero.
Yeah, so like Mighty Number 9 has a little more appeal because it's more like that than it is traditional Mega Man.
And I guess traditional Mega Man just doesn't feel right. At least Mega Man 10 felt better than Mega Man 11, but oh well, it is what it is. So, well,
I think 10 is more refined because like 11 focuses on the gear system, but the level design is kind of like some places are clearly built for the gears and some places are clearly built just to be normal platformed. But because of that, the gears kind of break the normal platforming.
right.
So it's like, okay, now the level feels weird and lopsided. So
Or just
it's a thing where like because 10 is simpler, it does its level design a lot tighter because it's born out of the necessity and out of the restrictions because you don't have gears to do stuff. But
right.
11, because you have gears, it's like, oh, even the normal platforming you can do shenanigans with.
Now, granted, I did play my number 9. Keep in mind, I played my number 9 on the Wii U, the supposed console that gets bricked by playing the game. And I never had that issue. I'm like, you guys really fall into this internet hype and stuff. I was like, no, I wasn't hyped for my number 9. Like when I first heard it was like panned on, I was really disappointed. I was really sad because like it feels like a good game to play, but I guess I don't have fondness for the older Mega Man games as everybody else. It just they don't they hit that niche, but they don't hit that spot, that sweet spot. So Those are my, like I said, not a whole lot of games disappoint me, and I honestly should have not. My number 9 was like disappointing and Mega Man 11 were disappointing in their own rights, but I mean, as objectively as I would say, like I couldn't find my notes for one of them, either one, so I just said objectively, my number 9 was pretty disappointing. I just went by objective viewpoint, but honestly, I think those games would turn out to be. I think if Capcom and Inafune ever came back to it, if they decided to make a Mega Man game, I think they would be better. But all right, that's all I got for my list. And honestly, I gotta get ready to go to sleep. So
It is late. Yeah, it's almost 11.
yeah. So thank you for having me. Thank you, B boy. I'll see you later, and take care, everyone.
See you, my dude.
Thanks for
Good
being
night.
here.
Take care. Good
Thanks for having
discussions,
me.
by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, time for mine.
Go get him.
Where is my list? Oh, there it is. All right, number 4, I put Killzone Shadowfall. And the main reason is because, I don't know, when I played it, I didn't get the same feeling of fun I did from like Killzone 2 and Killzone 3. Even with like the multiplayer.
When was Shadowfall again?
It was a PS4 launch title.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's how long it's been since we had Killzone, damn it.
I was gonna say, I was like, man, I haven't heard about Killzone in a while, so I had to think, like, when was this one again?
Yeah, the story wasn't as good or appealing, at least. I wasn't a huge fan of like doing like stealth missions because the past Killzones they're mostly about action. Even though Killzone 3 had like this, it did have a stealth mission, and it was a scary one at that too. It's like fuck, because you felt the risk, man. You felt so much risk because it was basically you were in like a forest or some shit, as you know, like the last of these soldiers, right? So if you get found out, you're dead, and your entire team is dead. Especially when like all the enemies, the Hellgas, they got like these predator-looking motherfuckers who come at you with the claws, and there's like these giant robotic droids, or like I don't know, man, some crazy shit. And like Killzone Shadowfall, it didn't really have anything that like appealed to me. You could say it's like kind of like earlier what I said, like maybe like the Modern Warfare 3 of the series. That's probably how I describe it, except like
Makes sense.
Even less appealing than that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. See, for number 3, I put, man, these ones you really just set yourself up for disaster. Number 3, I put Cyberpunk 2077. The further I look at this list, it's more like because, hey, the previous game was good, but why is this one not good? Or why do I not like this one now?
I heard that people who have a PS4 can't even play the game on that because the PS4 sounds too much like a plane getting ready to take off.
Yep. And it was so bad that they removed the game from listings. They straight up like had so many people refund it and so many people get rid of it that they removed it from the digital store.
Yeah, I feel bad too. I have this on PS4. And I feel even worse because it's like a gift from my girlfriend.
For
my birthday, I was like, oh, yay. And then I play the game, I'm like, oh, no. I asked for this too.
Cyberpunk, to me, the biggest problem Cyberpunk has is just that it should not have been ported to older consoles. They tried to release it on like 8 things at once. They honestly should have just dedicated their efforts to making it a next-gen thing, because the scope they wanted for the game requires it. Like, the crazy amount of things they wanted to put in, it would have been much better if they spent their time optimizing it with high-powered tech instead of working on things to try to make everything run on every level because with the amount of time and crunch they already put in to even try to get that to work, it shows like old tech cannot handle it, and it's lacking in a lot of ways because of it.
I agree with
Like, it just wanted to do. They were just trying to do too much that they couldn't do.
Right.
The game
one
itself
is-
is a problem. Like,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah. Anyway, just like starting the game, I just was not feeling it at all. Took me a while to mess with the settings. It still has that, even after the updates, it still has that weird cursor problem where you try to like to move something and then it just automatically goes down. So yeah, I just like, ugh. I just don't want to play it. I just don't want to play it, man.
Yeah. If you even can play it, if your system will let you.
It's actually a shame because I saw the reviews. They said that the game itself was actually, the gameplay and the story, it was actually really fun. But as you said, it's unplayable because of the tech. The tech can't really fit into into what's now the last generation, the PS4 and the Xbox One. It's because it can't fit in. And Tim, I completely agree. They should have made this PS5 and Xbox Series X. That's the right term for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They should have just dedicated to keeping it on Xbox Series and PS5 and PC. Like, just make it stay on the latest stuff because, like, if you're pushing this great of a scope, you might as well.
Yeah, and now you see Resident Evil 8 worked because it was originally supposed to be next gen exclusive. They just decided to move it onto PS4 and Xbox One at the last second because of how low the stock is for the PS5 and
Right.
the Series X. But even then, the PS4 can't really play Resident Evil 8 anymore because it sounds too much like a hairdryer. So
If you ain't on a PS4 Pro, especially.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, if you're not on a Pro, it chugs for some parts of Village.
I see. I thought you said on a Pro. I was like, wait, what?
No, on a Pro, it's a bit better, but without Pro, like, the PS4 struggles to run Village.
I'm amazed my PS4 is alive.
Yeah.
After so long. I can still play 8. It goes off as like an engine sometimes, but I can still play 8.
You get to a part with a bunch of particles and a bunch of goop out, and it's like, oh goodness.
Yeah. Alright. Number 2. Assassin's Creed Unity. Ooh,
Game with no faces.
Game that really takes you out of the series, put it that way.
The start of Assassin's Creed, like, incredible downfall.
Yeah. After Unity, I just had no... Well, let's put it this way. Let's say without, like, all the... aside from the glitches, right? Story wasn't as interesting, and the gameplay, I mean, not bad, but the multiplayer stuff was kind of overhyped.
Oh yeah.
Because once you beat the story mode, you get the best fucking sword in the game. So it's like, why would I need any other weapon? I have the fucking sword that just instant kills. So the meta is like already broken with multiplayer.
Skills, I can just use the win button.
Yeah. So, let's see. Black Flag ended in that. Story mode. Okay, this one, I think this is what really disappointed me. It was like the story mode, because after Black Flag, it just kind of leads to nowhere, really. Like like talking about like the real life or like the real time story, like everything happening in the modern day.
Yeah.
It just doesn't really go anywhere. So that's my problem with the series. Is like, what I heard happened is that they actually finished the story after I think, yeah, after Assassin's Creed 3, they basically finished off the story in the real time in comics. That's what killed it for me. So when I played Unity, nothing happens, and the next thing you know, I'm just watching the cutscenes for like the next games, and I'm like, just finding out that like, oh, they've in the fucking comics instead of like actually. Yeah, man.
Which I love it when game plots are put in extra materials that are hard to find.
Yeah. It's like, wow, fucking Desmond dies.
Go the Yoko Taro route, and hey, necessary plot for the overarching series is in a stage play that's only being shown in Japan.
Fuck, dude. I wish I saw this in the next game. That would have been interesting. Like, fuck. But yeah, that killed the series for me. And number 1, Mortal Kombat 11.
Really? Is your number 1?
Yeah. I'm gonna put that as my number 1.
Interesting.
How do I put it? It's just like... It's another Mortal Kombat game, but I'm not really feeling the story. I'm not really... I feel nothing. I feel nothing.
It's a pretty good statement for MK11. But I had a couple buddies who were really excited for it, and that was almost their feelings too. Was pretty similar. Just like they played it, they were like, okay.
Like here's the
Now
thing.
what?
Like, here's something like story-wise, right? Story-wise, like we know, like, hey, these characters could die and come back, right? Then they put in the time travel aspect, and maybe that's what kind of ruined it for me. I don't know. It just makes things less interesting. And the characters all look great and all, but other than that, the appeal is not really there for me. I don't know why. I just feel nothing. And it doesn't really help that the gameplay is like just feels stale.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I really wished Fatal Blow worked like Samurai Showdown, where you like, hey, you have this little comeback move that you could do, but if you missed it, you lose it forever. You can't even use it in the next round.
I don't remember who said it, but I saw a thing somewhere where someone was like, I think the biggest reason people are like into MK11 right now isn't so much that MK11 is really good, it's just we don't have to play Injustice 2 anymore. Because like a bunch of people I know who were into MK11 played it for a good bit, and then we're like, I'll go back to MKX.
NRS players.
Yeah, because this is really surprising for someone like me to hear, because it seemed like MK11's approach was basically make the game less degen, but go like put a bit more oomph into the game's overall content. And I think that's why MK11 seemed like it got plenty of attention and praise. But if you were like an older MK fan, the game felt underwhelming to you? Because it seemed like outside of that, the game was received really well.
Well, put it this way, here's the thing, I'm not going to talk shit about how it looks at all. I think everything
it looks
great. Everything looks great. Cinematography, graphics, how characters would look.
I do also want to say, for all the problems I had with the story, the DLC does help quite a bit. That said, that doesn't redeem the disappointment at launch.
To me, the best part of the DLC was the Shing Tsung.
Oh yeah.
That was just the best part.
Actually, and that's the other thing. I feel like someone like me, who never cared about Mortal Kombat at all, it was watching Maximilian play through the story and then do the DLC that made me think, wow, MK's story is actually kind of cool.
It is, but it was when the DLC came in and helped flesh out and fix the problems that MK11 had initially.
Yeah, so that's why this is interesting to hear, because if we're being real, MK11 is technically one of the most successful fighting games.
It's a lot. It's in a much better state now, but it's a matter of I think it's still completely valid to be disappointed in a game, even if the game gets fixed later.
No, yeah, definitely.
Battlefront 2.
Let's see.
Remember Battlefront 2?
It's about MK11.
I just didn't think that would be on your number one. I'm
Like,
hearing a lot of things tonight that I didn't expect to hear.
Well, to me, it's like
11,
that's my number one because, like, I've been an MK fan since I was like a fucking kid. So
That explains it then,
yeah. So when I played this one, it's like I'm not a fan of the gameplay. I'm not a fan of how like my fucking favorite characters play, Sub-Zero and Katana. I don't like how they feel. I mean, Katana, I like how she feels a little. Is it that it eventually becomes. Well, let's put it this way: Sub-Zero feels like stale bread, and Katana is like the Hawaiian bread.
yeah.
But once you have too much of it, it's kind of stale now.
Oh yeah, you can get sick of the Hawaiian bread.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how it feels. There's not really much. There's nothing inside the bread. There's nothing to make that bread more special.
So it's basically the plus R players trying Strive kind of thing all over again. Except over
I feel
the
like
course
there's a
of the
bit more
entire
to
game.
strive. I feel like there's more to strive. Because we're seeing more shit in strive that people are like, didn't think was going to happen.
Yeah, like, well, because when I refer to Strive, I'm referring to, like, the initial impressions, because so far
Yeah.
people have warmed up to Strive, but with MK, as far as I know, it seems like the old versus new sentiment has existed throughout the entire game's lifespan.
Yeah.
At
So,
least
yeah, I
one.
just don't like how it feels. Fatal blow system is annoying. Hey, you missed it. No problem, bud. You get another one. Oh, thanks,
Another one.
Dad.
I do agree that actually agree there. You know, we have different opinions about Mortal Kombat 11. Even though I like the game, I actually do agree that the Fatal Blow was a little bit on the cheap side. That, you know, if you miss it, you basically have another chance. It'd be kind of like in Tekken 7 if you did a Rage Shard, but you missed
Give you
it,
another one.
and then you get another one. Yeah, it'd be kind of ridiculous there.
And not only
so-
that, you just lose the rage art. You
Yeah.
lose your rage, so you don't get that damage influx or something. You don't get that damage boost back.
Well, that's
This
why you
doesn't
just
look
handle
like
it like
Strive.
Sam's show, where the meter goes
Oh.
down, and if you miss it, you're probably gonna die for it.
Yeah.
What I do like about the Mortal Kombat 11 though is I actually like this is just my personal opinion. I like the fact that the meters actually recharge by themselves because it doesn't encourage you to. It doesn't encourage you to mash. You see, there's some people who like to mash buttons in a game to try to build up the meter. In Mortal Kombat 11, I like how it kind of encourages you to use more strategic stuff. Like you're saying, okay, how close is this meter recharging and all that. So
Also,
I thought
howdy,
that was
Brandon.
pretty cool.
This
Yeah,
doesn't
I
look
wouldn't say
like
the
Strive.
recharge mechanic's a bad idea. But then again, I don't. I think the button mashing idea is not terrible either. I mean, I enjoy hitting buttons in Third Strike.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Well,
dang it. I knew we were gonna bring up
well,
Third
I-
Strike at some point.
You know, I'm just saying. What I liked about Mortal Kombat 11 though is I like how they made it a little bit more competitive. I like how they try to balance the characters more. You see, Mortal Kombat X, there was certain characters who you kind of relied on 50-50. Like for example, Sub-Zero. If someone was about to get up, they'd be forced to guess a 50-50. You know, either a mid or a low. But you see, with even delayed get-ups, people could read through that. But you see, Mortal Kombat 11, I like how you use the meter burn to do wake-up attacks. So it's kind of like an anti 50-50. You know what I mean?
That's
So
levels.
I also appreciate the fact they added in a tutorial. That was good. And story-wise, we have different opinions about the story. I thought the story was good. I thought they did a good job representing the OG characters. In Mortal Kombat X, they kind of brushed most of the OG characters aside. Mortal Kombat 11, they did represent them.
MKX story mode was a shonen anime.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah,
Really, we were a Mortal
it's,
Kombat 11.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 11 was definitely, in my opinion, a refresher story-wise because of how bad Mortal Kombat X story was. Mortal Kombat X had some good moments, but Mortal Kombat 11 was was much better, and definitely not the best story mode of all time. My favorite is Mortal Kombat Deception. I thought that's my and Deadly Alliance, pretty much the same story that connected.
What about Shaolin Monks, bro?
If that's canon, I would say that too. But you see, I don't really know if it's canon, but I do appreciate the story in Shaolin Monks.
Doesn't have to be canon, it'd be fun. Or good.
Correct.
I still think the best part of
Actually, I
Shaolin
thought
Monks.
MK is at a point where various
Best part of
things can
Shaolin
be
Monks
canon.
is like what? You see this monk literally get stabbed and just fucked up by Baraka or just a random Tarkatan.
You know,
And it's a
Yeah,
corpse
go ahead.
thrown across the room, and Kung Lao asks him, "Are you okay?"
Are you?
my favorite part is actually when Scorpion does the Terminator thumbs up. You get that Easter egg though when you defeat Scorpion and he does the thumbs up like the Terminator did from the movie. You get that reference?
Yeah.
Okay. What were we saying?
Or go ahead.
Yeah, I was around saying something.
Oh, well, because I noticed Brandon came in, so I don't know if he had any input on MK11.
It's just not a game for me because MK11 is cool. I like watching it, but playing it, nah. The biggest issue is the combo system change really just irked me. And initially the breakaway system was really lame because like some characters you just couldn't get shit going.
The
Because
breakaway
of
is when
breakaway.
you basically give yourself armor on knockdown and they
And
can't combo you
down
anymore, right?
That's when you like down tech armor basically.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I was playing like Scarlet and Aaron Black. Scarlet literally couldn't do anything. You would immediately on hit just break away, and then it'd be your turn because her buttons aren't that great. And when you're in that close of proximity, you just get cooked. So there was like no real reward for getting a combo starter. It was just like, well, I'm gonna force you to zone because if I don't, you're gonna break away and kick my ass.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like the competitive gameplay aspect. It just like feels kind of almost overbearing with that sense. I don't know what it is that irks me about MK11 gameplay.
Well, the biggest
Like Samurai
issue...
Showdown, for instance, it's a slow game, but I still enjoy it.
Well, the big issue with MK11 is if you go look at your moves, it's like, okay, this combo is triangle, square, which is like, what, 2-1, 2-1, 2. No. You have to do 2-1, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2. Like, what the fuck you
Yeah,
mean?
there's like some weird ass restrictions and shit.
Yeah, like, what the fuck is that shit?
Like, let's put it this way: if you told me this was MK11 before the beta, like, if this was like beta Mortal Kombat, this would probably wouldn't even be. This wouldn't be on the
Played
list probably.
MK11 beta? I didn't even know it had a beta.
Yeah, it had a beta, and Scorpion fucking could connect. What's it called? It's like oh yeah, crushing blows. You do crushing blow combos for days, and it's fucking nuts and beautiful. Like you're doing like Samurai Showdown damage just from like a single combo.
I think he used to be able to use his teleport and combo off of it into Crushing Blow.
Yeah, I like the crushing blow combos, like where you just stack them all together into one combo. You're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it all at once. And then here's the problem: not every character gets that option.
Yeah, I thought
Because
crushing blow
crushing
combos
blows
were
have,
supposed
like-
to have certain conditions.
Yeah, you have to have certain conditions. Some crushing blows can't even combo or some shit. Some characters are restricted to a point like, you can only do it like this, only at this time, and the effect is it's going to make them knock down, so you can't combo after it. I just wish there was more cool shit to do in it. Put it that way.
Well, at
Yeah,
this
it's-
point, are they updating the game or are they moving on to the next Mortal Kombat?
Don't
I think-
know. Either, I mean,
No, probably Injustice 3, I would imagine.
they're probably working on
wait, right.
DLC skins right now for the movie because those are already leaked. They're going to do more DLC skins,
Oh,
but I don't know about more
Well-
characters.
now that Brandon mentions it, moving on to an Injustice 3 probably would make more sense.
Either
My
Injustice
expectation is to.
or a new
Maybe.
game. We all know.
Yeah.
And they better not fuck up Injustice 3 because I'll be super ticked.
There's
Dude,
millions of
okay,
rumors of, oh, they're doing a Marvel versus DC game, but we hear those rumors all the time, so I'll believe it when I see it. But until then, it does not exist.
Give me back Killer Frost and Martian Manhunter, you bastards.
The big difference between I think Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11, I think it really depends on kind of gameplay you prefer. You see, Mortal Kombat X is
They're
more
very polarizing opposites.
exactly, and as you say, it's more about kind of crazy combos and all that. Fast paced, fast paced game. Whereas Mortal Kombat 11 is more about neutral and strategy and all that.
Yeah, which as far as I know, they stated that was the intention.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
put it this way, MKX, you can react more. It's all about more reacting, I guess you could say.
Just like at the end of Injustice 2, except for
MK11, you have a lot of breathing room to think.
Another problem is, just like
exactly.
Injustice 2, at the end of the lifespan, at the very beginning, all the way currently now, Centurion, and back then it was Starfire and Deadshot or whatever, is just like, it devolved into zoning, like lots of zoning.
There's plenty of clips of those shenanigans.
And it's just like, bro, like I understand it as a strategy and shit, but it was just too strong too often.
The thing that says the most about Injustice 2 and the state it ended up in was the fact that look at Superman. He's got cool combos and cool upfront stuff, but you'll never see a Superman do that because it's much more efficient to just do lasers and meter burn lasers and frost breath.
And then you're watching Theo play, and he's just like laser, 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 EX laser, standing laser, laser,
it's
laser.
Like, he has cool upfront stuff and cool moves, but why would you need that when zoning is this good?
Yeah, exactly.
It was
That's where
great.
you can tell a game's balance starts to fall off, and they basically just stop caring.
Yeah.
Gotta hope with the next game that they actually keep up with that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's why I like Martian Manhunter, Batgirl, and Killer Frost. They're like, fuck your zoning, I want to get in.
Well, I played Robin, so...
Yeah, I'm talking about the first Injustice. Injustice 2 is it didn't have those characters, so that's probably why I didn't get into it.
Fair enough.
Well, now we
I
gotta
think
wait
the only
till,
character I was into
Luis
trying
can
was
bring
Bane
Injustice around again.
and who else? Cyborg.
Oh.
But other than that, I didn't really
Who
get
did I
into
play
it.
when I played Injustice 1? I think I played as Doomsday, just because I thought he was cool.
Oh yeah, I remember Doomsday.
I had a lot of fun with him, because I like my big, beefy dude who had cool command grabs.
See, we need to clip.
Although
this
technically I
part
probably should have played Bane.
Luis. Oh yeah, I forgot Bane was a character.
I mean, people forget Bane's in Injustice 2 because everyone's playing the zoning characters.
And Bane gets slaughtered by zoning.
Jeez.
I was sad Injustice 2. I don't know, tier list wise.
I'd have to look stuff up for that.
You guys remember Clashes? Everyone's favorite?
Not gonna lie, the other day, I don't know why, but I ended up watching a video again of some of the character clashes and the dialogue.
Well, the dialogue's great. The actual
Oh
mechanic
yeah,
is
that was
stupid.
awesome.
To this day, I still don't understand what made them put in a mechanic like that. The interaction's cool.
I feel like that defines Injustice 2 completely, is the character dialogue and interactions are cool. The gameplay is awful. I feel like that's just a good description of the game.
Dang. Wonder if Luis would agree with that.
I like the dialogue and I like the character moments. I don't like how it turned into a zone fest.
Have you guys seen this? Let me put in the Discord chat. Or Shenanigans. Here we go.
Oh, wait, hold on. Level F, not... Wait,
I think I've seen this.
Did I spell it wrong?
The Maximilian dude one, yeah.
Actually, I didn't get to see the new MK movie. I think I heard good things about it. I forgot what people were saying.
6 out of 10 if you're huge on Mortal Kombat lore and shit. 8 out of 10 if you're just going in to watch a Mortal Kombat movie for Mortal Kombat reasons.
Yeah, I think
It is
most
the
of-
best Mortal Kombat movie ever made because it has a moment that accurately reflects your first time playing Mortal Kombat, in which a guy gets sweeped, he gets up and he gets sweeped again, and then the other guy fakes a sweep, so he jumps and sweeps him when he lands.
Yo, that's godlike.
Yeah, that
I
was
was like,
great.
wow, they understand exactly how people play this game.
Also, I didn't even see. Wait, I just realized. I thought I approved something from Automod. I didn't even read it, but I think it's gone. I don't know what happened.
Automod just straight up killed it.
Well, sorry.
Savage.
But I guess this will be a good point for me to skedaddle. You guys can still chat it up.
Everyone in my home has gone to bed, so I will probably be leaving.
Yeah,
I'm
need
good.
to
I had
go
a-
wake
hey,
up anyway. Go ahead.
There's actually something I never got to say. I was thinking for a nurse in Shenanigans, maybe in a week or 2 or 3 weeks. Another idea I had was perhaps top video game consoles. I don't think we've ever discussed that before.
Ooh, that's gonna. Actually, I feel like that may not get as heated. Maybe you guys will have similar opinions on different game eras.
I cannot wait to fight people over how good the Dreamcast was.
That might be one.
Ron, when does that Viva Pinata stream?
Yo, when is it?
Perfect.
Nah, he's not wrong because the Dreamcast had all these really good like arcade cabinet ports, like Hydro
did.
Thunder. Like Hydro Thunder, that shit was fire.
Yo, Soul Calibur 1?
Yo,
Yeah,
I
Oh,
miss
yeah.
Hydro
I
Yo,
Thunder.
think it's
MVC?
coming up.
yeah, it had a lot of good shit. It just didn't have mainstream stuff. That was the
The
problem.
Dreamcast had the Dreamcast had so much stuff that was way better than its time, and it used all that great technology and all that forward thinking to play games like Floygen Brothers.
And bad marketing.
Literally ahead of its time.
You just opened that.
It was the first console with online multiplayer.
That was funny.
But you know what came out like a year or two after that? A little thing called the Xbox with Halo.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, look, it turns out people like online multiplayer if you give them a game they like to play on it.
Gosh dang it.
There was something I wanted to say earlier. I was like the story mode for like Soul Calibur 6. I actually liked it. Like the story chronicles.
Yeah, I liked it too.
You
I
get,
still didn't go through enough of that
I feel like it gets an amount of time to actually like you actually get to know the characters more. There's extended dialogue. You actually get to hear the characters talking.
And it has better characters than Goody Two Shoes Patroclus.
Yeah, we don't talk
So,
about that.
I just
Here.
saw. So tonight I'm gonna send y'all to the homie Riley. He's playing Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Oh, snaps.
Is anybody here playing Strive?
Not currently.
Yeah, do
I
you mean
mean,
like
just in
at the
general.
moment, or you mean in general?
In general.
I think.
I'm playing Strafe.
Well, except I think everyone here except David. Actually, Tim, you just don't have it yet, right?
Not yet. I'm probably gonna get it on PC, considering I don't own any console with it.
Oh yeah, you
I
have.
mean,
to. The port
hey man,
sucked
you
ass, but it is
do
what it
the
is.
Taco Bell mod.
Yeah, I might
what-
get PC just for mods alone.
Pro tip though, if you get to Celestial, you have to go all the way back into the lobby, or it won't save it. Because I won my
Dang.
5. It was like 2 a.m. I won my 5 out of 6, and then it said ranking update or whatever, and it had the screen, and I alt F4'd and went to bed, and I got on
Bruh.
today, and I wasn't Celestial anymore. So, pro tip:
Oh my gosh.
go all the way through. I'm pretty salty. Fuck this game, but it is what it is.
Jinkies. Remember to save, kids.
Yeah.
Those of you
Fuck,
watching,
dude.
by the way, thank you for watching. Tell Riley I said howdy. Adios.
See ya, my dudes.
Not everybody.
Well, I mean, that's just for ending the stream. For those of you in here, y'all can keep chatting if you want.